Welcome everyone to Comics from the Multiverse, episode 476. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Matt.
Hey, what is going on?
This is a DC Comics podcast. We get together to talk about the books we read this week. Alright, brain fart, 30 seconds in, that's a good start. But yes,
Yep,
coming up
I love
today,
it.
we have Detective Comics 1101. We have Superman 30, Superman Unlimited issue 5, Wonder Woman 25, Absolute Wonder Woman 12, Green Lantern 27, Justice League Unlimited 11, and Mr. Terrific Year 1 issue 5. Plus, I've got a couple of Patreon books that I'm going to be talking about, which are Gideon Falls 2 and Batman and the Outsiders Annual issue 2. So that's what's coming up on today's show.
Sweet.
Yep, nice healthy amount of books. And we'll get into all that in a little bit, as well as a tiny little bit of news. Just kind of following up on the solicits from last week, and we also have our usual Kindle rankings. But before we get to anything, Matt, how was your week?
Well, yesterday at work was an all-time bad day. So I'm glad that we got through that. And I've been living the bachelor lifestyle for the past half a week because my wife went out of town with her mom and sister. So I've been left to my own devices, which has had me eating frozen pizza more times than I should. But you know what? It's easy. It's delicious. And then it's also led me to watch old 80s. I don't know if it's a slasher, but have you ever seen Dark Knight of the Scarecrow?
I think I have.
Yeah.
Is that the one where a bunch of townsfolk kill like a troubled teenager who's got mental problems, and then he comes back to haunt them as a scarecrow? Okay, yeah, I have seen it.
Yes. Starring Lane Smith, Lois and Clark's. Well, not starring. He's one of the townspeople. But he's the biggest name, I believe, in it. Yeah, very, very tonally much my thing, but I didn't realize it was a made-for-TV movie. And it's very, very bloodless and very, very, I don't want to say slow, but it takes its time throughout. But I mostly enjoyed it. It was a nice, fun watch. I love a good early 80s slasher. But it wasn't really a slasher, but an early 80s horror kind of vibe.
Yeah, I don't remember thinking much about it, honestly. I want to say we and Tim did it on streams at some point, but I mean, the memories are very vague. Like, I even remember Lane Smith was in it. The title rang a bell, and I went to... But there's a few different movies called Scarecrow or something Scarecrow, so I had to double check.
Yes, this has the Bubba kid who means very, very, well, and gets, there's a misunderstanding, and the townsfolk are ready for blood. But yeah, and then the Scarecrow starts haunting them as it goes. And it's funny because it's meant to take place in the Deep South, but I'm looking at the mountains, and I'm like, I've been there. And it was shot up and around Ojai, where I went for my anniversary trip this year, and we had driven through that town, and past actually the general store. It's still there, so I was like, oh my goodness, this is exciting. But yeah, I love when you stumble across things like this. I was looking for movies kind of in that fall vibe, and it was on a bunch of lists. And it definitely has, there's a part that takes place in a Halloween carnival or dance, and it just has those fun fall kind of feelings. But yeah, so if you haven't checked it out, I would recommend it. But manage your expectations. It's still a made-for-TV movie from the 80s. It's not going to set the world on fire.
I actually been watching something DC related because I'm up to date on Peacemaker now.
Oh.
Yeah, I've been up to date for a couple of weeks actually. I just forgot to bring it up, but I caught up a few episodes out of the season, and it's been interesting. There's been a few tie-ins to Superman, the movie, in the first episode, but there was another one this most recent episode, which I will not spoil. But are you caught up on it?
I'm not caught up, but people like to talk. And people ask me questions that are up to date.
Okay.
And I get spoiled, but that's okay. I have 2 episodes to go of the first season. Me and Ash were catching up before she left.
Right.
And I was like, are you sure you don't want to finish it before you leave? And she goes, no. Well, wait till I get back. And I was like, damn. All right. But no, I am aware of the thing you don't want to spoil.
Yes.
So, but yes.
Yeah, there's only 2 episodes left. 'Cause it's only an 8-episode season. I mean, I think you could argue that it's maybe taken a little bit long to like get to the meat of what's going on. But it's just been pretty fun overall. There's been entertaining stuff. There's some nice pivots. Like a couple of characters who felt like they had nothing to do in the first half of the season suddenly are very important in the back half of the season. So you know that's nice that they've become a bit. It was almost like we couldn't spoil why they were going to be important this time until we got to the reveal of what's really going to be the focus of the end game. But no, it was just interesting watching after Superman and like, you know, Justice Gang having a cameo in the start. I mean, hell, not even just that. They kind of retconned them into a scene from season 1 because originally the old Justice League that was in the old universe was there. So it just kind of feels like, don't worry about it too much. We're just quickly retconning and now this is in this universe. Yeah,
as comic book fans, I think we're easily accepting of that because we're used to retcons.
Oh, sure.
You know?
Yeah.
So, you know, my buddy who messaged me, he sent hey, did you see this? Oh, wait, are you caught up? I was like, that's okay. Oh, that's my fault for being behind. But it is, what he sent me was pretty exciting. So I would like to get caught up as soon as we can. Hopefully by the time the finale airs, we'll be able to watch it live. So that'll be nice.
You got just under 2 weeks then, if you want to do that. But yeah, I will say like the song in the opening credits is quite because it's a different one for season 2. And it's quite quite catchy. So I
believe this one is Foxy Shazam.
That sounds correct. Yes. I'd never heard of them before Peacemaker season 2.
I watching Peacemaker. Ash was commenting that like finding these deep cut music choices is like a James Gunn specialty. Like he's just very good at it because a lot of the needle drops for season 1 are just spot on. You know, the Hanoi Rocks plot line, not even a plot line, but there's a seed of things in there with him and Economicos in the first season. So, and I think that pays off in the second from things that again I've been spoiled on. But he's very good at crafting these worlds. I think if for the first time in a very long time, I feel that we're in confident hands. And because I have past traumas with people running the DC film projects, I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop at any time. And I know that's not healthy to think, but this is what I've been given. This is the hand I've been dealt. So yeah. Yeah.
Well, we can get into things. We got the Kindle rankings, the list formerly known as the ComiXology top 10. We'll have a look at that for the week. You got a guess as to what number 1 is, Matt?
There's an absolute book this week, so I'm going to guess Absolute Wonder Woman.
That is incorrect.
Oh my God, really? Hold on, let me see if there's any DC, any... Well, there's a new number 1 here. Is there any Marvel? All right, let me guess Ultimate Hawkeye 1.
No, that is incorrect.
Oh, okay. Detective Comics 1101.
Nope.
I can't see your face, Pete. I don't know what you're giving me.
I said nope. Nope.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear you. The pop-up window would not come up, and I was starting to panic. All right. Well, I'm all guesses unless it's Ultimate Spider-Man.
It is Ultimate Spider-Man.
See, that was the boring answer. I wanted something more fun. You know?
Yeah, no, Ultimate Spider-Man number 1 is, or not number 1, sorry, number 21 actually, but yeah, Ultimate Spider-Man is number 1, is what I was trying to say. Number 2 is Absolute Wonder Woman. Number 3 is Superman. Number 4 is Justice League Unlimited. 5 is Detective Comics. 6 is New History of the DC Universe. 7 is X-Men. 8 is Green Lantern. 9 is Superman Unlimited. And 10 is Ultimate Hawkeye. So Marvel took the number 1 spot, but DC have 7 out of the top 10. Yeah. So pretty healthy. And then Wonder Woman is number 11, just outside that top 10. So pretty healthy DC week overall. You know, and then there is some like other Marvel books out. There's well, maybe not a lot actually. There's Battle World. There's a Thor book. But yeah, maybe Marvel had a light week this week for whatever reason. But DC taking most of those top 10 spots. So there you go. That'll do the Kindle rankings. We can we'll get into a tiny little bit of news, which is just that it was confirmed, because obviously the solicits don't always tell us now. But Chris Condon, who's writing Green Arrow, which we've been doing as a Patreon book, we just started doing that over the last couple of months. His run is ending in December. The issue that was solicited for December is that team's final issue. Unclear if that means that the book is ending there or if it's going to get a new team. I don't know if that's been specified yet. I think this further plays into the idea that we're getting a wave of new books or new creative teams in March, and it's a shame that the two that have been like confirmed to be ending so far are two runs that we're liking, which is a shame. But you know, sometimes they have to end. Although you were telling me Kelly Thompson was teasing another DC project, so not all hope is lost.
Yeah, not all hope is lost. So, and allowing DC allowing her to finish up a Birds run too, which is nice. You know, so I'm starting to feel like that's maybe why it's getting condensed with these last couple issues where we've talked about confusion and whatever, and how it feels a little bit off. And it's starting to make sense. So hopefully we don't leave Barda behind. I know we have a New Gods book, but I need a Barda fix, Pete.
Well, yeah, but New Gods is ending as well, because New Gods was always meant to just be 12 issues.
Right, but we'll have that. Well, maybe there won't be much left. I got my timeline backwards.
I'm pretty sure New Gods
will go longer. Yeah.
New Gods are going to be ending a month before Birds of Prey, so I don't know what nonsense you're talking about.
Yeah, well, I'm going to need Barda, DC. Get on it, please.
You might get a new book with Barda in it. I would like Barda and Cass to still be together, certainly, as well. I just hope they don't touch Batgirl, because that's not as, that's a bit younger than Birds of Prey.
Yeah.
And to be fair, Chris Condon, by the time he's done, will only have had about 14 issues of Green Arrow. It's only a couple of trades worth. So hopefully we hopefully all the other books I'm enjoying survive. I mean, some of them are still pretty new, like, certain runs have only just started, or the arcs have just started, so I feel pretty confident they're at least going for a little bit. But hopefully no more that I like. Hopefully no more casualties. All right, that's all I want.
Luckily, a lot of the stuff that we read are in high numbers, right? The stuff that we're really enjoying, the Nightwings, the Detective, the Taylor's not going anywhere.
Well, Taylor's not, but I mean, I don't know. I can see them ending Dan Waters' run on Nightwing. I don't think that keeps anything safe.
I'm trying not to speak it into his existence.
Like, they could totally say, like, February's his last issue and the new book or the new creative team starts in March. Like, that's not out of the question. I don't want it to be the case, but it's absolutely possible. And if anything, a higher number, unless you're Detective or Action, because they want to keep those numbers going forever, is maybe even more likely that they'll relaunch it because, we want to, start from number one again, because Batman number one just sold 500,000 copies, and we want even just a taste of that with some other books. Just a taste.
Just a taste. Yeah.
A taste.
Do you really want to taste it?
That was a Peacemaker reference. Very good.
Yeah.
Detective Comics 1101, Tom Taylor writing, with Mikel Janin on the art. So, start of a new arc this issue, because we wrapped up that previous one with Bullock and Penguin, and then had the big milestone, like, sort of standalone issue. I mean, I thought this was a very good first issue of this arc. It was intriguing, it was mysterious, it set up something that was kind of spooky, and gave Batman a mystery to solve, and then, well, it's still Janin on art, who's been on the book. I feel like his colouring on this issue was going for a very different kind of vibe, and I was really feeling that throughout this.
Yeah, it's a lot of the greens, right? And a lot of the stuff on the boat.
Greens and purples.
So it gives it almost like, which is apparent in this, when we get to the story, gives it kind of a sickly look, right? With this green and purple going over it. But, the coloring really makes it pop too. Because we all know Janin's art's, very, very good. Here, I feel like it went to a next level because there's some character to it. Not that there wasn't always character, but, like you said, it's going for a vibe.
Yeah, and obviously the opening scene, there's not much context for at the start, although looking at it again now that I've read the whole issue, I'm getting a vibe of what this actually is. 'Cause, I mean, although it still says then, which implies the past, even though I feel like it's actually foreshadowing the future based on where this book ends. But, that's, open for debate. We'll find out where everything goes. But the opening scene is this sort of monstrous version of Batman breaking into a house and grabbing this guy who's telling his son that everything's going to be okay. But the main story of the issue is that this party boat off the coast of Gotham, just a bunch of people drinking and doing whatever, freak out because not only does a giant container ship, hit up against them, there's also floating bodies in the water, and it turns out everyone in this ship is dead. So we get kind of like the Demeter arriving in England sort of issue where Batman goes on the ship. He gets there first before the authorities. He helps out the party boat quickly. Gets the bat plane to autopilot, drag their boat back to shore.
Yep.
He investigates the ship and immediately is confronted with a bunch of stuff. He gets Oracle on the line who's watching through his visor. So they're kind of discussing it as they're going, but he's pointing out there's a lot of weird things here. Okay, there's a bunch of dead bodies, but they're all dead at different times, which is kind of weird, because why would the earlier ones be left out on deck like this if it wasn't a sudden thing that killed them all? And some of them have very specific injuries where it kind of felt like it's like he's jumped off the mast, but his arms aren't broken, which implies that he didn't try and break his fall. He just landed head first without any kind of signs of trying to protect himself. Just all these details that are kind of weird. It's like, okay, this is genuinely quite mysterious. I don't know where this is going yet, and it's that made it quite fun and kind of eerie, I think, for a lot of the issue.
No, there's an eerie vibe because like all the life vests are still there, right?
Yes.
Even the children's ones, and it doesn't look like there should have been doesn't look like the boat was in distress except for all the dead bodies littered everywhere. The boat's old and dilapidated, but it's still sailing fine, so it doesn't look like it was under any danger or attack it gets Batman's gears going. Like, what is going on?
Yeah, no hull damage or anything like that. And obviously Batman's in his blue cape in that now, so the detectives also adopted the new outfit from Batman issue 1. So a bit of synergy there. Anyway, and the art is gorgeous here. Like when he's diving off the bat plane initially down to the party boat, because one woman gets knocked overboard on the party boat, and he dives down and saves her. That's kind of a fun moment. When he's going onto the boat and you get that full page spread of all the bodies. I think it always feels really dark when Batman's encountered with a lot of dead bodies, because he goes out of his way so much to not kill. It's a big part of his character. So when he's confronted with, there's murder victim. Well, I mean, they may not be murdered, but maybe they are, maybe they aren't. We don't know yet. But seeing all these dead bodies, it feels like it hits hard in a Batman story because of how much he tries to avoid death at all costs.
Yeah, and just the way that that full page spread, right? And there's just a little text box that says I count 41 bodies, right? So it's just this very, dour kind of moment for him.
And that's before he's even went below deck to check out the rest of the ship. So, he gets Oracle involved, and she's like debating stuff here. And of course, once he starts looking at the various things and he goes in, they notice cameras on the boat. They notice cameras that are watching him, and they're starting to sort of go. And they point out specifically that these cameras seem far too high tech for what the rest of the ship is. This is a bit more suspicious, a bit more intriguing. But Batman finds a young boy who's still alive, although when he finds him sitting there playing a video game, he's very, very sick looking. And ultimately, it doesn't take too long for Batman to put on his little kind of protective gas mask covering, or whatever you want to call it, on his mouth guard. But part of me was instantly thinking, wait, if this is some kind of infection, some kind of outbreak that's caused all these deaths, Batman has just kind of shown up here. Now, not that he could have really known, there was no way for him to be aware of this. But as soon as he's looking at this sick kid with the kid's eyes all looking kind of red, I'm like, oh, there's a good chance he might be sick already. But there's a big thing on the wall saying, the fear will end Gotham, your courage is coming. and it's credited to or signed by the Lion. So I think that's a new villain we're teasing, because I don't think I can think of anyone that goes by the Lion. So that's cool. But I do like that Batman does cover his face once he realizes this is some sort of disease or virus. But of course he's already been hanging around for a bit, so it does kind of feel like, you know. So the speculation between him and Oracle is like, wait, is this some kind of like first controlled experiment, and that's why there's these cameras everywhere to assess what's happening? Because basically what they realize is that this virus is like taking away their fear, right? But to a detrimental point, because fear is a good thing to a point. It's what tells you to stop doing something because it'll hurt you and that kind of thing.
Right, self-preservation.
Yeah, these people all had that removed, so they didn't care that they were dying. They didn't care that something bad happened to them or was going to happen to them. So they just kind of accepted death and didn't care about it. So there's something I could compare it to, but it's a spoiler for the thing I'd compare it to, so I won't do it. But something that springs to mind.
Well, and just with the idea of the lion, and that a lion usually represents courage and no fear, right? And then, like in Wizard of Oz, that's why the cowardly lion, stands out, because it's this lion without courage, So it's like, what is this guy doing? Like, is this what type of experiment is he running? Is he trying to remove all fear? Which, if that's the case, it's like the opposite of Scarecrow, right? This is the guy that's trying to remove fear instead of instill fear. So, quite a different type of vibe for Batman to go against.
Yeah, but it also works very thematically with Batman, since Batman is very much all about instilling fear. Right. But he points out that, in the narration at the start, there's a little bit about him saying, oh, but I want to take fear away from the regular people of Gotham. I want them to feel safe going out at night. But on nights like this, when the mist rolls in, it's hard to not feel a little bit scared. So, but I mean, what this is teasing is this idea of this villain wants to make everyone just completely... I mean, and here's the question, like, it seems like everyone was getting sick and dying here anyway, so, like, it takes away fear, but it seems like it's also killing them too. Like, it's not like all the deaths are all because they all suffered injuries. It seems like they all just died at some point or another.
Right.
I don't know if they're all just related to the fact that they're not feeling fear. I mean, the kid does look genuinely sick. When we see his face and all that. So, right. Anyway, it's a very intriguing plot. Batman goes to Mr. Teriffic to get, like, a sciencey head on the case, and he confirms a few things. And the cliffhanger is him saying, "Sorry, Batman, but you are infected." So, again, aside from the fact that the opening said then, implying it took place in the past, so I don't understand that part of it. But this feels like, to me, Batman might become this Batman who doesn't feel fear, kind of thing. Yeah.
Or do you think that's when he says he wants to make people feel safe and not, like, the regular people not being afraid of him? Is that just a thematic, like, this is how he appeared to that kid? Then, right? Like, Batman was this big scary monster coming in to get his dad.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I feel like it feels more than a thematic thing, though. It feels like we saw that scene for more of a reason, and I wonder how it's all going to tie into that. Because part of me's thinking, if he doesn't feel fear, that he'll get more bold and he'll actually become scarier to everyone. Is kind of what I was thinking. Yeah. Because of course Batman's going to be like, oh, I'm just going to leave. Like, once he realizes he's not contagious, he's probably just going to leave. And how does Batman operate if he himself can't feel fear? Obviously, yeah, there's this idea that Batman's not a scared character typically, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't feel any fear. Doesn't mean that it doesn't help him deduce things or assess situations. Does he get careless? Does he stop caring? Because like, one of the things that he probably fears when he's doing stuff is fearing like an innocent person will get hurt in the crossfire. If he doesn't fear that, then does someone get hurt because he doesn't care?
Right, and that takes his caution away and it makes him more reckless, right? And a reckless Batman isn't, good for anybody. Think about all the stuff that he does, all the devices that he has with the Batplane. Like, he programmed the Batplane to tug that boat in. If he's just flying that thing around the city, completely reckless, it's not good, again, not good for anybody.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, out of this is the third arc that Taylor's done in Detective, and I've enjoyed the other arcs for the most part. Maybe a couple of nitpicks here or there. This is definitely the one that feels like the most intriguing plot-wise, where I'm like, oh, this is instantly very interesting what you're doing here. Plus, with all the atmosphere that this issue has as well, with the the creepiness of checking out the boat when it arrives and all that. I mean, I really enjoyed all that stuff.
And it really speaks to Taylor what he's interested in telling with Batman, because the first arc was about his mortality, right? Now he's getting older, and you know, the whole elixir thing with him, you know, turning back the clock of aging. Now it seems to be more of his mental status of like, well, is it okay to traumatize the city as I do? Right now he's starting to have doubts, and that he wanted to change that. Right, he wants to be more open. So I do like that Taylor's like taking these, you know, typical tropes of Batman, and you know, exploring it through Bruce's eyes.
Now I'm curious to see where they go with this. I mean, I think this first issue was really great, but obviously it's not all going to be creepy searching ships for the rest of the arc. It's going to evolve into whatever we're doing next with Batman in this condition. But I do think there's a lot of potential there to kind of explore that and see, you know, in some ways, like, removing fear also removes the fear of Batman for the criminals, and that's maybe something we can also play with.
Right.
So, you know, that's maybe a tool been taken away from him in a weird place. That's assuming the city itself gets infected. Although I assume if that happens, there will be a cure by that point, because we're not going to kill the whole city, obviously.
Yeah, and again, with all of the, you know, like the disease-like structure of it too, it adds a ticking clock, right? Because Batman still has this thing.
Yeah,
right?
I obviously, there's going to be some kind of cure before Batman dies, right? That's just obvious.
Oh, yeah. But it just adds to that, you know, that pressure situation of him, like, of it, you know, because he has it too. So, but yeah, no, it was really good. And again, the Janin's art here, when it shifts even back to like Mr. Terrific's lab, all the color changes. There's a lot of more, you know, harsh reds and all of that too. So, you know, he's just really, really playing with what I expect out of Janin's art.
And obviously red typically means danger, and the fact that he's getting this bad news at the end kind of fits with that. No, I mean, I think, credit where it's due for the art feeling a little bit different to the previous arcs, despite it still being Janin, and not in a bad way. It just it feels like it's intentionally going for kind of a more atmospheric, creepy vibe than it was before because of what the story is, and that seems like a valid choice to me. So, no, good stuff. What are you giving Detective Comics?
I'm gonna give this a straight 8.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to at least 8.5. I could even stretch to the 9, but I think I'll be conservative and say 8.5. But I do think it goes above that straight 8. I think I really liked it. I think it's one of my favorite issues that Taylor's done on Detective so far. So that's cool. Superman, issue 30, legacy number 873. Joshua Williamson writing with Dan Mora on the art. So this is the second sort of, or the third part of the Superboy Prime thing. It does round it out. This is the end of this little mini arc. And he was faking. He was like, he can do what Superman can. He can convince these telepathic Legionnaires that he is a little bitch and he does want to work with them, but then trick them because he's also wants to help Superman, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, it's kind of notable that when Saturn Girl, and this is absolute Saturn Girl, is recounting her like origin, if you will, and talking about getting involved in the war, and she like killed lots of people, and they put her in a straitjacket and thinged her up. She started hearing the voice, that voice being Darkseid's, and she even saw Darkseid, and even saw a vision of Absolute Superman, which is kind of interesting as well.
Yeah, because when you think about what the Legion is and how it's from the future and whatnot, how is she seeing this? Right? Like what cross-dimensional type stuff is going on. So yeah, crazy times. I thought that was super cool. It definitely made it like, again, I've done so many Legion things and so many different origins, and this one being dark, like there's not a civil war, but a war going on between Titan and Brawl, which are two of the, you know, places where the Legion come from, and just the fact that she's able to turn the Brawl Guard on each other with her mind things, and then Cosmic Boy's there, and you know they're not friends. They didn't, you know, join up in you know, inspired by Superman. So it's like a team up of convenience. So just the whole spinning of that origin really works.
Yeah, I mean, I think Yeah, I mean, I think the idea of what her saying absolute Superman's not that complicated. I think it's just in the past, right? Which makes sense that it's possible. Because I mean, I think at least the absolute Legion or Darkseid's Legion, whatever we're calling it, I think they started in the absolute universe and then they've been like hopping. I mean, they even say they've been hopping with the help of Booster Gold's like Omega energy or Chronal energy or whatever, right? But they're going to eventually kill him, which did lead to a very funny line where, as Superboy Prime is going to kill him, says, "Oh, Dan Jurgens is going to be pissed." That did make me laugh. I'm not going to lie.
Yes, that was a very good line.
Yeah. Also, there was a bit though that I think should give Matt an existential crisis, because Superboy Prime says Superman's the best and Batman can suck eggs, and I thought Matt cannot feel proud that he is just Superboy Prime in reality.
Look, I've come to terms with it. If I could punch holes in reality, I would.
Yeah, okay.
Right? I lack the Kryptonian powers to do so. You know? So that said, I've come down from my Batman hate boner.
I'm just saying that this is not the character you want to be compared to. In the same way that Connor doesn't want to be compared to Jason Todd, which he clearly is the Jason Todd of everything.
Yes.
Right?
Also, Pete, you also forget that I also love Guy Gardner. So I have no problems with the shade that comes with liking and being associated with other characters.
That's true.
But I did think that was very funny. And it was very nice for Superboy Prime to get this redemption in this way, where he's like, you know, I could hide I wanted to team up with them because I hate the Legion. So that hatred like covered that up because of his history with them. But at the end of the day, he wants to do what's right because of Superman. And that also is kind of the ideals of the Legion. So Williamson wrote like this circular reasoning for Superboy Prime that works out really, really well.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm kind of lukewarm in the issue as a whole. Not because it's like bad or anything, but just because I look back at this little arc, right? And I'm like, okay, the important things we've done here is maybe establish a little bit of how the Darkseid Legion started, which is that Darkseid started like talking and showing visions to Imra and all the others in the future, and that kind of brought them all together, blah, blah, blah. Right, that's fine. Which does also suggest that maybe Absolute Superman didn't become this influence in the way that regular Superman did. That's also fine. So I appreciate that little bit of fleshing out, and obviously like Superman getting Booster Gold back, and then the cliffhanger of like, oh, we have to call in all the League and like get talking because Darkseid's got a Legion, like Darkseid's not gone, right? That's important. But when I actually think about the actual plot of like all this stuff, and part of me, I guess, is because I thought it was going to be longer than this. It felt like it was all kind of resolved very quickly, I guess, and I just kind of felt like all of the interactions with the Legion and like Superboy Prime talking to them in this issue and last issue, I just kind of feel like this. I mean, calling it filler feels maybe a little harsh, but it just kind of feels like it didn't really matter that much, you know, because by the end of it, Superboy Prime just has his little standoff with them, and it's maybe this heroic moment, and I get that, but I just kind of felt like, yeah, but like nothing of real importance kind of happened. Like, I don't know, like, is it going to matter that this happened, other than just like Superman knowing that Darkseid's got a Legion that's coming? Like, is that the only real important thing going forward?
So I do feel like, because they're setting up KO, right?
Yes.
And I do feel like when Superman gives Superboy Prime the Legion ring, right? And, you know, he's like, hey, I didn't earn it. And he's like, yeah, but you will. And then when Superboy Prime, reality punches Superman back through the portal, when he says, you know, you're going to need this, you know, the one way you're going to be able to stop Darkseid is to not hold back. I do feel like, again, the circular reasoning of Superman inspired Superboy Prime, and now because of the edge that Superboy Prime has, he's going to be inspired, or he's going to be able to inspire Superman in whatever happens with KO, right? Going forward, is that because we're dealing with like this ultimate evil with Darkseid and the fate of the multiverse and whatever, Superman's going to have to find that edge somewhere, you know? And as someone that's a fan of pro wrestling, this kind of storytelling is very much in my wheelhouse, you know, of the, hey, you're the tried and true baby face, good guy. If you want to beat these guys, you're gonna have to dig deep and find that dark side, but not go completely over, right? Because you still need to be the hero. So just for all of that, I really appreciate it. But I would understand how someone who's not as jazzed of Superboy Prime and the Legion and Booster, you'd be like, yeah, no, this should have been longer, could have been longer.
It's not, I don't even think it's the people involved per se. I think it's just because for this issue, even though a good chunk of it's Imra telling her backstory and there's a little interlude with Lex beating up a Darkseid monk or whatever he is.
That is Karate Kid, all right? And then Lex turns his neck all the way around, which I thought was cool as hell.
This doesn't look anything like Ralph Macchio, first of all. Second...
True.
Right? Second, right? He didn't sweep the leg. Maybe he did. I don't know. But he definitely did the full-on exorcist twist, right? And
yes.
Which is fine. Like, I'm okay with Lex killing someone because he's Lex Luthor. I don't know. Imagining him snapping a neck so bad that he turns his head all the way around, though, it does feel a little bit on the extreme side, admittedly. But whatever there's teasing with Lex there, I don't know. But they're building to something. But once we get to all the actual like Legion, Superboy Prime, Superman stuff, though, it's basically just we're going through the motions of talking about what we're going to do, which is kill Booster, and Prime's just playing along until the moment where he says, "Nope, you fools, I'm not on your side." And we did the whole cliffhanger last time, which was, Superman, I'm not on your side. I'm going to join the Legion of Darkseid now. Blah 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 blah. So I just kind of feel like while. I mean, I could have seen it coming, and part of me always kind of thought, oh, he's going to just turn it to be helping Superman. This is just him playing the game. I don't think there was anything interesting that happened in that duration where he was pretending to be on their side. Like, I don't know if it like really like gave me any excitement or accomplished anything in terms of like, you know, an interesting story.
I mean, it got me to be going like, oh yeah, this was the really crappy version of Superboy Prime that I did not like. Right, so it was leading back into that for me, and we also got the Jurgens line in there when he's with the Legion.
Sure,
you know. So, you know, but no, I really enjoyed this just as a fan of the Legion and what this all represents with Superman. Like him seeing this dark vision of the future where he didn't inspire. Right, it's Darkseid that's the inspiration, and how bad the future is. Well, and when Saturn Girl even says, it's like we didn't get inspired by the past. We're inspired by the end.
Just technically, we're not in a future inspired by Darkseid. That's not what we're seeing. We're in the ruins of the future that used to be inspired by Superman because this Darkseid Legion have obliterated it. Just to be clear.
Right, but what the Darkseid Legion represents, right? It's almost inspired by that. Where Saturn Girl says, you know, we weren't inspired by the past, we're inspired by the end. And it almost makes them like a death cult kind of vibe, right? So just the idea that Superman has to deal with that, and that raises the stakes for him. But yeah, and just the interplay between them, because the Legion are meant to be this group of friends, and just the way that they're talking to each other, and, you know, the way that Saturn Girl deals with Lightning Lad, and all of that type of stuff. I thought that was all really good and well handled.
I guess. I don't know. I just, there wasn't much of a story, I guess, for me here in this issue. It was kind of just talking until the time for Superboy to make his turn, or Prime to make his turn specifically, not regular Superboy. SP, we'll call him. So, anyway. And
then also another quick thing I want to talk about too is the fact that Superboy Prime ends up with the Legion Lost, which was the, you know, so back in the day when they had the Legion of Three Worlds, which was, you know, the story that ended Superboy Prime.
Take a nap during this.
Take a nap real quick. There was three versions of the Legion, right? You had Superman's Legion, you had the Legion Lost, which was like the in between, and then you had the Three Boot Legion, which was Mark Waid's, right? They came in 2004. So the fact now that you have Superboy Prime with the Legion Flight Ring hanging out with the Legion Lost kids, I think that's a lot of fun. And, you know, we might see them pop back up again as almost as like the cavalry, because he's also there with some of the other Legion members, right? There's Starman, the one that got, you know, lost in the past and stuff. So and he gets a good, you know, long live the Legion page, which popped me big time. You know, it used to be my sign off here on the show. So, you know, it hit a lot of that, you know, things that I like, the good kind of nostalgia, right? Where it's not like they're not going, hey, remember this? This is why I like the Legion, is for stuff like this, you know, the timey-wimey aspect and them having to rally together And yeah, and at least Superboy Prime was something interesting to do. If this is his Legion now, this Lost Legion, his group of misfits, it fits very well with him.
I am nonplussed by any of this. The Legion is just that line where it separates the DC nerds from the ultra DC nerds, and you sicko are on that sick line.
Yes,
or past that sick line.
I am a sicko.
Dear. It kind of ends with just Superman showing back up at the Watchtower, which we'll talk about a little bit later again, because it's also in Unlimited. I mean, it even tells you here. This is also see the rest of these events in Justice League Unlimited.
It's the same last page, isn't it? Because it's both Mora. No, this is not Mora. This is Giandomenico, right? Or is this Mora doing?
This is Mora. No, this is Mora. Right. Giandomenico's on a different book this week.
Right.
Unlimited.
Which is Unlimited.
Yeah.
Right. But just the art here doesn't look a lot like Mora. It looks like Giandomenico on this last page.
That's still
right?
that Mora to
me. And Superman. Yeah?
That still isn't that Mora to me.
Okay. I felt like I saw this page earlier in the week. But again, I spaced all my books out a lot this week.
No, there's a Giandomenico version of it in the other book. Yes, okay. Which is what you're thinking of. But in this book, it's definitely still done Mora.
Because reading this, I was like, I already saw this page, and then so now when we get back, when we run through Unlimited, we'll see the differences, and if I spot them.
So yeah, more on that a little bit later today. It's perfectly fine. This is kind of like, look, I think I'm going to enjoy KO, and I often enjoy a lot of DC events, but sometimes the interconnective stuff, or sometimes when Williamson's writing them, I put it under the category of just event slop, and this is kind of what this felt like to me. It's fine, it's not terrible, but it's kind of event slop. So take from that what you will. I just can't feel that positive about it. Matt, what are you rating Superman 30?
I feel we're gonna have this as the biggest gap that we've had in a minute, but I'm gonna give this an 8.5. I loved it.
I'll give it a generous 6.
There we go.
A generous 6. That's what you're getting. All right. Superman Unlimited issue 5. Dan Slott writing with Rafael Albuquerque on the art. So this is the better Superman book of the week. And I do mean that. Like, as much as I was a little hesitant about Slott initially, because I'd read some of his Spider-Man, and I wasn't really... And it's not that I hated his Spider-Man. It was perfectly fine, but it didn't wow me either. I think what I'm liking about this book is, one, it's mostly standalone stories, although this one's actually a 2-parter. This is part 1 of 2. Yeah. But that's still pretty small in the modern comic world of 4, 5, 6 issue arcs. But I appreciate that it's doing a healthy job of having consistent supporting characters, like Tina, at the Daily Planet, and she's setting up all this hey Lois, you can talk to all the other Daily Planet buildings via hologram now. You've got that going there. You've got the ruler of the country, which I keep forgetting the name of, but the Kryptonite country. So you've got that going on, and I feel like there's just a nice running through line to it. And I do feel like, I don't know if this idea of all this kryptonite being around is my favorite Superman concept ever, but it does feel like something different. It does feel like Slott at least came in here with an idea of this is something that's going to shake up what it feels like to be in a normal Superman book, and let's just keep running with it and play with it and see what we can do in that new context. And yeah, sure enough, the main plot of this though ends up being that after all this Daily Planet stuff at the start, where they're establishing all these different Daily Planet connections and people talking, is that Superman pulls Lois aside and says, hey, Batman tipped me off. They're about to find in their kryptonite mines where the giant kryptonite meteor landed. It's now a mountain, basically. They're going to find a sunstone, which is one of the stones that grew the Fortress of Solitude. So they'll so if whoever gets their hands on this, whether it be that country itself, or we're hearing Cult of Cobras sneaking in and they're trying to steal it, whoever, we don't really want them to have this Kryptonian technology, so I kind of need to go there. And she's like, wait a minute, honey, that entire island is kind of deadly to you. What are you talking about? Cue the full page spread of him and his ship, but also his effectively an astronaut suit that's going to protect him from the kryptonite. So he's in a full hard hazmat suit for this issue as he's doting around. So I don't know. I thought that was a fun
DC,
visual. Yep.
If you're listening, I would like an action figure in a vehicle of this, please. I want the supercar with the arms and everything. Like, this felt very Silver Agey in its design. And then the Superman figure in the full, like, astronaut suit. I think it's a really fun look. It definitely, you know, feels like something that we haven't seen in a minute. You know, the Superman that is very vulnerable, right? So he needs a suit like this. And it just adds that little layer of like unease, right? Yeah. Because if our invulnerable man is feeling vulnerable, what anything can happen, right? Like, so there really is a sense of that throughout the issue.
Yeah, I like the vibe of like all of this. I think I like the detail as well as he's flying in, where he's like, you know, a lot of these buildings that are green are actually just green paint. Like, they're just kind of branding because they're called the Emerald City now because of all the kryptonite, but they're not actually building all this stuff out of kryptonite, because that would be a waste of kryptonite to just have buildings made out of it. So they're just painting it green. I actually kind of appreciated that little detail. Yes. You know, because it's got more valuable uses elsewhere. Yeah. You know?
He says it's all lighting and green paint. Like, so I'm fine here right now. And then that really shows the difference when he gets closer to the mine, when they have to go down to look for the sunstone. It's like, oh no, I can feel it even through the suit. You know, this is where it's dangerous. You know, so I did like the difference between those. You know, he's not as in the city where they're having a Superman parade, right? Because he saved this country of El Caldero when he stopped the giant mountain from crashing right into there by slowing it down enough. You know, and there's Superman balloons, and everyone has the blue and yellow flags and red and whatnot. So, you know.
And that leads to a whole backstory we get, because we find out the president used to be a miner, as in a coal, or a, you know, goes into mines and mines. Not he was a child, because everyone used to be a miner in that sense.
Right. It's my favorite joke in Galaxy Quest when they go down to that planet and Sigourney Weaver goes, "Oh, they look like miners." And what's his name? Chen, the tech sergeant, Tony Shalhoub. He's like, yeah, they do look like children. It's such a good joke. But yeah, and he was the guy. He was like the foreman of the mine, right? That they were at when Superman saved them all, right? Like, they saw Superman.
And he is the one who took charge when he's like, hey, Superman's trapped underneath all of this mountain, effectively. We need to keep digging. We need to get him out. So it actually makes him a more interesting character that he was there on day one and went out of his way to save Superman. And even points out that Superman had that gold shielding when he landed. But Superman has no memory of this. Superman just, you know, I think from what we heard before, he just kind of blacks out as he's like saving the stopping the meteor, and then he wakes up from the coma, and that's it. He doesn't know this little bit happened. But I thought it was interesting getting all this detail. I thought it fleshed out that character a little bit, because I think up until this point we've kind of seen him as like not like a villain, but he never felt like a good guy. You know, he felt like he's exploiting people. He's using this. He's probably more nefarious than he seems. But the idea that to see him like be the one to say no, we have to dig to save Superman, like it does kind of like make it a little bit more complicated. We're like, oh, maybe you aren't just an evil asshole. Maybe there's a little bit more to you than that.
Yeah, I feel like when he's trying to defend his country, right? Like El Caldero, and then now they've seen untold fortune now, right? Like, they are finally able to take care of themselves after being in between, you know, I forget what country is next to him, right? But like, they're finally not being able to be exploited by bigger countries, you know? So he wants to protect that, but there is a sinister vibe to him when Superman shows up and is like, hey, so like, I need to get this piece of Kryptonian heritage. It cannot fall into other people's hands. And he's like, yeah, but if it's in our country, it's ours. Right. So there's like this sinister thing to him, you know, that ends up playing out in a fun, not a fun way, in a good way, you know, towards the end of the issue.
I mean, he comes off as antagonistic because he's like, no, it's our salvage. We're not giving that up. I mean, you're not the only Kryptonian either, so it doesn't have to belong to you anyway. So it does feel like he's butting heads with Superman, but then you get the backstory, and admittedly, it is him telling the story. It could be inaccurate. He could be, you know, some bias or some creative accounting going on. Anyway, but they're going into the mines because Superman senses that someone's found it. He can kind of feel it. So they gear up, they go in, they encounter a Cobra cult member who dresses a handyman or whatever. And this guy's got the sun crystal and he's running off with it. And, all this is happening. Now, however, as much as I'm saying this president may not be the worst guy ever, when he catches this Cobra cult member, he punches him to basically bloody death. Like, he's just like wailing on his head. It's super violent looking. And when he picks up the crystal himself, he sees like some of the Jor-El and Lara kind of messaging, it seems like, coming through. And he hears the name Kal-El, which maybe that's something that he doesn't know Superman's called Kal-El. So that's a whole thing. However, with them on the truck going in here, there's the local Daily Planet guy, right, who we saw earlier on talking to Lois, right?
Yeah, it's Ron Troop. He got sent there from the Daily Planet.
Sure, yeah. Right.
And he's covering the Daily Planet for Lois in El Caldera.
So he's there, and he's got a camera person with him, a camera woman, right, a blonde lady. Yeah. And she's filming this, and she captures this like violent like murder that this guy does. Well, I don't know if he quite finishes murdering him because he's kind of strangling him as he notices the camera it's pointing at him. But he yells he runs after her, and the cliffhanger is when he knocks this woman down, this blonde hair is a wig that comes off, and it turns out to be Lois Lane. And just to set up that this is, despite all else, a villain, because it's kind of made you sympathetic towards him because he helped Superman in the middle of this, in the backstory in this issue. He does say, I'm going to have to kill you because no one can find out that, no one can see what I just did. So, and then we find out it's Lois Lane. So obviously Lois isn't going to die, but it does, again, add more layers to this character where, okay, he's willing to kill for this stuff, but he did go out of his way to help Superman. Which makes me wonder, was he a good person that has been just utterly corrupted by the money and power that all this kryptonite has led to, for him? Or was he always having this side, but maybe he still likes Superman? I don't know. It's interesting to see where it's going.
So here's my question, right? When he gets cut with the Sunstone and we see into his glove, what is that supposed to be? Is his hand changed? Right? Because his hand looks green.
I just thought I noticed that, but I thought that was just the lighting coming from the kryptonite that they're surrounded by. Okay. That makes sense then. Yeah.
But it was really weird that they showed that it cut his glove. Right.
To be fair, you could argue why isn't the white glove also glowing green? Because that would make sense. I do think it's probably important that he got his hand cut. Like, I wonder if he's got, I don't know if he's infected with something, or maybe maybe the reason why the shard did show him something is because his blood has touched it, right? And it's like, this is now bonded to you. This technology now is tied to you because your blood has touched it, if it remotely works that way. But it does seem like it emphasizes that cut on his hand when it happens.
Yeah, that's where I got a little bit confused there, of why they were showing us what are we supposed to be seeing, right? But then he sees that, and then he even says, though, Kal-El, he goes, it is his birthright, but I'm the only one that knows that. And that's when he goes to choke out the Cobra guy, and Lois films him. So
although having said
definitely,
that,
there's
having said that though, after that cut and he's punching, you do see little shards of green coming up, but I don't know if that's just meant to be in the background on the cave walls, or if it's meant to be because but part of me is wondering maybe his hands are green because he's been handling kryptonite too much, so his hands have just kind of turned green rather than something that's specifically he's a mutant or a metahuman. No, he's just been touching so much kryptonite that his hands have went green.
We know that kryptonite has a mutation property of it, and we've seen in different things with the radiation or whatever. I'm like, Kryptonite King makes for a very good name for a villain, right? So, if this is where we're building, where he, really starts to show himself and gets corrupted totally by the amount of kryptonite. I
don't know. It makes
the man with kryptonite hands, right? That is a great moniker.
I don't know. It makes me think of Crypto King, which makes me think he's trying to shell out Bitcoin or some shit.
I mean, look, man, there's a bad guy's a bad guy, right? So, but yeah, very interesting. And then Lois getting into shenanigans. I'm very happy. I just wish we had a little bit more like of a tell that might have been Lois, you know.
I don't mind it not having a tell. I just kind of wish that it was I wish they kind of just like made more of an like a what am I trying to say here? Like I feel like she just kind of starts to be in the background at a certain point, as opposed to like it being like, hey, all right, camera lady, grab your camera, and then have her just like sort of say yes, boss, or something. Just something to sort of like be like a genuine introduction to her being there, as if it's been pointed out to you. That said, though, I do like the logic behind this, that she's worried about Clark going to this city because obvious reasons. So she actually kind of wants to go to keep an eye out for him, like to watch his back.
Yeah.
I feel like that's probably the primary motivation behind this. I mean, sure, yeah, she'll do the Lois Lane stuff, she'll get the story, she'll keep her eye open, but I feel like the primary objective here is to look out for Superman as opposed to anything else.
Yeah, she's protecting her husband. You know, he's very vulnerable. Again, he's vulnerable, and she wants to try to look out for him as best as she can. And part of that is going and covering it with her own eyes and keeping an actual eye on his back here. So, yeah, because really the only way we get introduced to her is like she's with Ron, and that's where Ron says that he's been here for the last 3 months, stationed there, and she's just kind of riding. And then the first dialogue she really gets is, "I'm not getting any bars. I've lost my feed to the Daily Planet," with the camera. You know, so there's not even any real introduction, like, oh, you're the camera woman that's here stationed. You know, she's just there in the background.
You don't even need it to be a big thing. Literally all you need is a one panel where he says, hey, you know, grab your camera, and just have her pick up her camera. As simple as that sounds, it's just like a way of to say to the audience, hey, we're pointing out that she's here, because she's basically just a background like extra without that, and that's what she feels like until the ending where she's like, you know, caught looking with the camera, and you know, we get the reveal. So it's a minor quibble, all things considered, because like I think it does work for a fun ending. I do like the whole vibes of like Superman being in like the astronaut suit to get close to kryptonite, and the vulnerability of that's quite interesting. So yeah, I think this is better than the main Superman book. I think this is a few issues in a row I've enjoyed it more.
I'm happy that there's 2 Superman books that I'm enjoying. So I'm gonna take that win.
So you hate Action Comics, do you? No,
but just you know, usually there was like a binary when it came to Superman books. Like there was one that was really good and one that hasn't been. You know, and the fact that right now 2 on the same week is a win. So you know, but you know, the last month's issue had Superman Bat as well, so that will be peak. That'll when we get talking about, you know, end of the year stuff, that'll factor in heavily, I believe. So yeah, this book's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I feel like you're being far too kind to the regular Superman book right now, but
look,
that's fine.
I'm on a high for this one issue of Superman 30. But yes, you're correct that this one has been better over 5 issues than the main Superman.
Yeah, not necessarily perfect, but I think it's been a more interesting book. It's been a more captivating. It's doing some more fresh things, and I'm enjoying the supporting cast. Like having someone like Tina be this recurring element it's been a nice through line for it. So what are you giving Superman Unlimited issue 5?
I'm gonna give this one 8.5.
But I don't think I'll maybe go that high. I'll go with a straight 8. But I do think we're hitting into great territory. I think this and the last issue have been the 2 best issues of this book. So that's just good to see. All right, Wonder Woman 25, Legacy number 825. This is Tom King writing with Daniel Sampere on the art. So the girl
and Jorge Fornes.
I didn't even notice that.
Well.
I don't think I was listening to the comic.
All those. Yeah, all of those, all the alternate stuff that's going on in between the pages of what's going on the Mouse Man Island, that's all Fornes.
Oh, the Justice League deaths. Yeah, you could just say it.
Yes. Okay, well, I didn't want to, we didn't get there yet. So,
but it's the first page.
You know. True, Batman does get it.
The first page is Batman being hung with a golden lasso.
Yeah.
Or hanged, not hung. Technically, that's the correct way I say it.
Pete's over here talking about how Batman's hung.
Anyway, so yeah, I mean, obviously the main story here is that we got back to that girl's place last issue, and her parents have, well, her mother's kind of still alive, but her parents have been badly beaten, left for dead, and like Wonder Woman's like pleading with the girl, please stop saying Mouse Man knows. You need to tell me where a doctor is so I can help your mother. And we get a reveal that on this island there is a resistance, the kitty resistance, the cats, because cats catch mice. You see,
yes,
it's logical. You understand. And I thought it was interesting here. Now, this doesn't completely add up because later when we see their doctor, who's an older guy, it doesn't really make sense for him. But I was thinking for these characters, because they don't speak, they don't say Mouse Man knows, right? They actively go against that and they say other things. But their vocabulary is not that great either. It kind of feels like, oh, they've grown up here. They've not really been taught to speak properly or understand language as well as they should. So they're speaking in a very kind of weird, broken up way, but they're trying to like say things that are their own words rather than this Mouse Man bullshit. However, my theory of that went a little bit out the window because later on the doctor, who's much older, is speaking like that as well. And I thought, okay, I don't know what King's getting at. Is he saying that like even the people who already could speak properly have like regressed because they've been speaking Mouse Man knows for years?
Like, look, I understand what he's saying about being in an authoritarian place and what it does to to people living there, right? I understand that. But when we get to the doctor and he's speaking like Yoda, I'm like, okay, this is edging on Bizarro type stuff, you know? Like, it's caveman-esque, you know?
I'll take this 100 times over crappy Bizarro speak. 100 times.
Either way, I don't like it.
Right,
you know,
I'll take this 100 times over that. At least this has thematic points to it. Anyway, they take Wonder Woman and the girl and the mom into the sewer system. There's a giant mouse that attacks them, and Wonder Woman has to fight it. Great full page spread of it picking up one of the kitty rebels in its mouth and throwing her away. Art here from Sampere is absolutely gorgeous.
Yes,
pretty much goes without saying, but it's great. There's a lot of good stuff here with little Lizzie like gasping for air and coming up, and then Wonder Woman finally rising up through the water. And then they get to the doctor, all the rest of it, and we see they've got like a little base here in this old abandoned subway station. All very good stuff, but the result of all this happening though is that Mouse Man like stands up and makes a speech, and he's got this like pit with a bunch of civilians, and basically says that because Wonder Woman, this outsider, has come to our island and interfered, this is the result, and sends a couple of big mice in to kill these people. So people die because of this, and Wonder Woman is not feeling too great about it. She's doubting herself, and even when this like one resistance member with the blue and green hair is like, hey, like, you know, we need her being you. We need you are her. And she's like, nah, my plan is to get my friend that doesn't belong here and go home. Like, Wonder Woman's basically saying, no, I'm not going to help. Which obviously is a sad thing for her to say. And to me, it says that, one, maybe she's being, especially, like, restrained because she's got a baby girl now. But I also think, if you think back to the start of this arc, this whole arc opened with Batman, Superman telling her, you cannot go here, this is breaking the rules. And I think because some people have been killed because she came here, she's feeling guilty. She's feeling like she caused this. So she wants to get out as quickly as possible. Now, we know that she's not going to be able to actually leave and not help. We know that this story is always going to go to the point where she's going to agree to help. And I actually love the ending of this issue, which is the girl who Wonder Woman at the start of this issue, so the girl that we've been following for 2 or 3 issues now, who's not said anything other than Mouse Man knows, mice have ears. At the end of this issue, when Wonder Woman's making it clear, once they've been led to this, the little hut that we know the characters are staying in, right? With the Themyscira and all that. Once we get there, this girl tries her best and actually says the words Wonder Woman and says, Wonder Woman, please help. And I'm like, that's how you do it. That's how you like tug on the heartstrings to make Wonder Woman not be able to resist. Because now she has to. This girl has fought through the thing that she couldn't fight through, even to save her own mother. She was able to get to the point to say, her first words, other than the usual shit she's been saying, are the words Wonder Woman. That has impact. Like, I thought that was a really great, emotional way, and it's like, and all of a sudden this girl not saying anything else for 3 issues suddenly has so much impact because it makes her saying something else feel like she's like fought through programming. It feels brave in a weird way.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and just the way where Sampere plays that page, right? It's her face over 4 panels, right? And you just see the progression as she tries to say, you know, she starts saying with the M for Mouse Man, and then it turns into the W for Wonder Woman. She says it, and then just the tears and the hopeless look on her face.
Yeah,
right? With the tears running down. And it's fantastic art.
I love how it kind of mirrors the page a little bit earlier when Wonder Woman's saying no, she's not going to help because she's crying on that page by the end of the page. So it kind of mirrors that in a really cool way. And you know, I did see some complaints online, and people love to complain about this book for whatever reason, but people were complaining that Wonder Woman's out of character by saying she's not going to help. And I kind of agree, but I think the point is that she's going through something, and that she's got these doubts. She's trying to convince herself she's not going to, but of course she is, because she's Wonder Woman. She was always going to help. This is just about getting to the emotional point where she's realizing it.
Right. Her being out of character is the point, right? Like this place has messed her up so bad that she's like, no, I have to leave. I can't stay here any longer. I'm just going to make it worse. Right. And yet this girl looking at her with tears in her eyes.
Yeah. Heaven forbid we have a heroic character have a bit of doubt, have a bit of self-doubt for a story.
Well, and then just also goes into the meta context of Wonder Woman is like, she always has to be perfect because she's Wonder Woman, right? She is the biggest female superhero. So therefore she has to be better than the men. And it's like, well, wait a minute. She's still a person. Right? She's still a character. Characters still have doubts. We would have no issues with Batman having doubts or Superman, but we can't have Wonder Woman doubting? It's like, come on, man. And that's why I feel Tom King's telling the story. You know, it's that whole thing. It's like, yeah, she has doubts, but she's a hero. She's going to do it anyways. You know, that's just who she is.
Yeah, I mean, I've been digging this story, and I get the story maybe not working for some people, and I get, you know, obviously Connor loves to complain about Tom King's voice not working for him, and some people might feel that, but it does kind of feel like sometimes people get a hate on for a book and just want to find any excuse to rip it to shreds kind of thing.
And I've seen people online instantly not like Tom King because of his past and what he did before he wrote comic books. And it's like, all right, well, if you can just separate and like engage with the book, right? That's fine. If it's not working for you after doing it, but just throwing everything out just because it's Tom King doesn't help anything. You know what I mean? So you have to look through there. So like if this, I would understand how the story wouldn't be working for some people, right? Because there is a lot here that I feel like I'd like a little bit more clarity from Tom King on. And again, we're not through the end of it, right? He's still adding twists and turns here and there, you know? But so far, I get where it's going.
Yeah, we're uncovering stuff, and obviously some people might not like the interlude stuff here. So throughout this book, from very first page, we get a page of an old Bruce Wayne in the future being killed, and then later on there's a Superman page, there's a Hawkman page, there's a Green Arrow page, so on and so on. Is it Hawkman that gets shoved off the building? Because I love that page. That was a gorgeous full page spread.
Yes, that's when I also realized it was Fornes. Right, because of the way
that's fair.
Heavy inks and stuff were. But yeah, Hawkman drops his wings on a roof and then stands over there, and someone pushes him, and you just get this his body tumbling amongst these skyscrapers.
And obviously, this is a possible future. It's not going to actually happen because they're not going to kill all these characters. But what I like about it is this running through line that every single one of them basically says with their final words, "It's not over because Wonder Woman." Right? Like Wonder Woman's still there, she's not done, and it just, you know, so it was, you know, I did laugh though that like all of the pages had like a you know, a nice moment for the characters that looked really good in the art. Some cases it was big, like going off a building. In some cases it was more like Superman making his little speech as he's going down on his knees to accept death. I laughed a little bit at Aquaman because he basically is just sitting there next to a whale, and I thought, you got the lame. You pulled the short straw on like cool death pages. He
got stabbed with his own hook hand. Like they took his hook hand and stabbed him with it.
I just think everyone else got a more interesting page than he did. But hey, it is what it is. So we skip to the future, and the implication is that a certain character's behind all of this. Lyssa, who's the baby of the Themysciran who's here, right? So she's given birth on this island. She was the one that wrecked the pool hall back in issue 1. And that her daughter is going to grow up to effectively be the Antichrist by the looks of it.
Yeah, the matriarch. And we get introduced with this, like they keep teasing about the matriarch, and we don't know what that really is and stuff. And then we get to this, it looks like Themyscira, right? On this island, and there's someone in like
no, I mean, I think it is, because they straight up say you're ruler of Themyscira and the States of United, or whatever. They say America in a weird way.
Yes.
But,
well, and says, Lyssa, the daughter of Emily of the Amazons, heir to the sovereign of America. It's like, this is the unholy union of the Amazons with the sovereign.
Yep.
And look at what it has wreaked upon. And she's got a Green Lantern ring and a Legion ring in a big old sword. And yeah, definitely like you said, the Antichrist. I didn't think about that. And I was like, oh no, definitely. She is the antithesis of everything Wonder Woman is. Because in that scene with Superman, where he says, your matriarch and this war that she has brought, if you ask me if I have hope, I have 2 words for you. And it's Wonder Woman. And it's like, they've perverted what Wonder Woman stands for. And yet it's still the union of the sovereign and the Amazons. And it's like, oh, this is beyond with the Mouse Man stuff. Right? These are problems that are still brewing outside of that. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the Lyssa stuff was always going to be going beyond the Mouse Man plot. Like, especially since the whole Monarch thing was always like flashing to like Lizzie in the future with, hearing the story. I think it makes sense that this Lyssa stuff is also going to the future, and it makes me wonder if there's going to be part of the future stuff plays out where it's Lizzie taking on Lyssa.
Yeah.
And I don't even think their names being so similar is an accident. That feels like an intentional choice to me. So, I think that's interesting. Because that's the thing, that she's talking to her subordinate, in this little future scene. She's saying, no, we've not taken care of everything. We've not taken care of her, not Wonder Woman. The idea that that's the one thing still standing. What's interesting, though, is they all say Wonder Woman. Do they mean Diana, or are they talking about Lizzie in this future?
Right.
Because that is possible.
Because if it's Lizzie, it's the idea of Wonder Woman, right? And that's what she's the one that used her brothers, right? Well, of Damien and John to get in to talk to the sovereign, right? Doing these impossible tasks. And it's like, as long as Diana's dream lives on in Lizzie, right? That is Wonder Woman. It's that whole idea. And until that's defeated, the matriarch can never really win, right? That sense of what she stands for. So I like it. I like it a lot. And like you said, the names being so close cannot be an accident.
No.
Of Lizzie and Lyssa. So
yeah, and she's got a cool look, and it's kind of cool to have another fun like nemesis of these characters. Now, how they deal with all the future stuff, and like sort of, because obviously at some point it's all going to be stopped. I expect either that or this book's going way out of continuity. But either way, I'm curious to see how they address that as this goes forward. But I think it's interesting though that this Mouse Man stuff, which felt mostly separate up until this point, it's like, no, this is still playing a part in the larger Tom King run of the story he's been telling since issue 1, right? This is still tying into the Monarch stuff and the future stuff, but it's almost like it's building the other side of the future now, and then at some point we're going to get the two meeting in some form or another. So now, fascinating. And all that stuff, especially since that entire first thing, it was like, hey, we're introducing Lizzie, the daughter of Wonder Woman, Trinity, possibly Wonder Woman by name as well at a certain point. We spend all that time basically teasing and hinting at the child of Wonder Woman. It's interesting now that we're now building up to teasing the child of the Sovereign, right? I think that's a really interesting, again, kind of like two sides of the coin kind of approach to this. So
absolutely.
No, very, very good. I mean, King's Wonder Woman is one of my favorite books every month. I still have a great time reading it. And if there is a nitpick, like, why is the Doctor still speaking like this? Like, I get why the younger people are. Like, that is nitpick territory. It's not like a huge deal.
No. I will, even if I don't initially like what's going on in the story, there's always enough to talk about. There's that King is always playing with these themes that, you know, of what makes Wonder Woman work. But yeah, for more often than not, it's one of my favorite books. And this one with all the Mouse Man stuff, I was getting a little bit, I don't want to say bored or anything, but just the whole Mouse Man knows stuff. I wasn't looking forward to it as much as I used to. And now you have that whole turn with the girl saying Wonder Woman help. And it's just like, okay, it was worth all of that annoyance to get to that moment, you know? So.
Yeah, I wasn't that. Honestly, it's almost like pleasant to me to be like, oh, I can almost just ignore a lot of these speech bubbles. I can just, because I know what they're saying, I can just keep going. It's like a little rest. It's like a little rest. Anyway, what are you giving Wonder Woman 25?
I'm gonna give this a straight 8.
Yeah, I think I'll go up a nudge to at least 8.5. Really dug it. Yeah. Was this a longer issue because it was issue 25? I didn't even notice if it was.
Let me see.
I don't know if it was.
I don't know.
They sometimes do it for 25, pages? They sometimes don't. It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
Let me
compare pages.
Oh, it is a bit longer. No, it's not actually. No, there's a preview. No, I think it's a little bit longer because it goes up to page 30 digitally, which is.
Oh, my Superman was 25 pages. This was 36 pages with ads. And stuff. So
it may be an extra 5 pages, give or take. Yeah. I mean, maybe it wasn't. I don't know. Anyway, if it was, I didn't notice, which is a good thing because it meant I wasn't feeling like any kind of padding or anything or pacing issues. So there you go. Absolute Wonder Woman issue 12. Kelly Thompson writing with Hayden, Sherman on the art. So this is wrapping up the storyline in the maze. It's still teasing some, like, what is the absolute version of Atlantis / Aquaman, because we've got this water trident from Poseidon, and we're teasing Atlantis stuff, of course, with these characters she's interacting with. But, you know, we're also teasing the future stuff with Kale and Dr. Poison. They kind of come back to that a little bit, and Dr. Poison be like, you want me to continue my work? Give him my new goddamn suit. Give him my new lab. Blah, 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 blah. Even though the maze is now flooded because of how Wonder Woman, well, she floods the maze. That ultimately, she lets everyone else get out through a portal, but she gives Io a thing to, like, close the portal afterwards. And then she basically leads Clea and the fishmen to the opening to the ocean and saying, look, I'm giving you a chance to be free, and I'm hoping that, well, you're kind of a monster in here, that maybe with freedom you won't be a monster. Hopefully I don't regret that. But it's still a thing where maybe it'll come back to either bite her, or maybe one day, who knows, maybe Clea will be an ally in the future, or something. You know?
I'm hoping, because that is one of my favorite things about Wonder Woman, is like, she does try to befriend all of her enemies, right? Like when you think about a lot of them, outside of Kale, right? You have Barbara Ann, you have Silver Swan, Giganta. I'm trying to think of a lot of the more of the female ones. She does at one point befriend them and tries to speak to reason with them. So the fact that she would try here with Clea.
Wait, not Dr. Psycho?
No, we can't reason with him. He doesn't know. He sucks. Okay. But yeah, but she does try a lot. And I do love just like the spirit of Diana in the absolute universe is still trying, right? That Clea, she understands that this is a hurt person and hurt people. Yeah. And that she gives her a second chance here to go out and try to make better. Yeah. You know?
I mean, the first several pages of this book are a fight between her and Clea that kind of picks up, and it's a lot of the water trident stuff. There's obviously those fun layouts that we've been talking about. Something as simple as Clea trying to stomp Diana in the face, like the angle of the panel kind of is in the same direction as the stomp, so it just kind of feels like you get this sense of motion. It's great stuff. The book's really good at that. There's a great page as Ferdinand's going to find the portal. He's following the little magic ball. The last thing Diana had in her person, she'd made this magic ball fly, and he's chasing it to the portal. And I do love that in the background of this page, there's like circular panels with the people in them, or beings, I guess I should say, because Ferdinand's not a person technically. But in the background, you've got the maze. Like they've just drawn a maze in the background, and I just think that's a really fun.
Well. And if you look at where the circles go to, they're pointing that where out in the maze they are.
True. Right? Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Which is, again, a lot of cool stuff. I love Hayden Sherman's art so much.
Yeah. I mean, I think what sticks out about it to me is that the circular panels really stick out because obviously the maze is there's nothing circular about
Angles.
the maze. It's all straight lines. It's all a grid basically.
Right.
So these circular panels on top really kind of pop in a weird way, even though the coloring is actually very similar between the background and the panels.
Yeah.
But
right.
it's all very cool. I really like the bit though where Ferdinand goes through the portal. So he's in the real world. He's back at the Heron, and immediately he notices that all the Themyscarans that went through already are all clutching their ears. They're all like in pain, and he hears something in pain as well. And he goes out, and it's actually what they kind of teased last time out in the real world. I forget, is she a siren or?
She's a siren.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
they keep saying you took my siren.
That's right.
And
that's
there's a
right.
whole big
So she's screaming in fear or whatever, and Ferdinand is able to get to her and calms her down, and she can, he holds her, and it's kind of a sweet moment, and it kind of like saves everyone, because like Steve and the others, all the Amazons that have came through the portal. I love the idea that they all went through the portal thinking we're finally free, and then immediately like just dropped to the ground in pain. Like,
Well, and then all of these circles, right? They have like those wavy, almost like sound lines.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
To show. And then as she calms down, they start to round out a little bit more.
Oh, that's what it is. I even noticed that they gradually changed on that page. That's a nice touch. The top of the page, because they're on the previous page when Ferdinand first goes through the portal. They start as soon as he hears it, and then on the next page, as he's getting towards her, by the time he's holding her, the final circle's turned into just a straight, well, not a straight line, but like a regular line in a circular form. It's not wavy anymore. No, that's a really nice touch. I like that a lot. So basically Diana has to convince her, look, there's water here, and she's like, what magic did you use to conjure water? And she's like, I didn't. I found a hole to the ocean.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
We set off a bit of dynamite, and Bob's your uncle, and since you're all Atlantean, just on you go.
Swim.
Yeah, go for a swim.
Find home.
Easy peasy. So all very good. However, there is a wrinkle to all this, is that when Io, who's the last to go through the portal as the water's coming, because I love that she's refusing to go. She's like, no, I'm waiting for Diana. But she sees the water coming, and she's like, well, clearly I have to just hope Diana's like got a good plan here, because I need to go now. But as soon as she steps through the portal, she gets zapped with lightning effectively and disappears, and there's just like smoke left behind, and they're like, oh shit, what happened to her? So it's like, okay, that's a bit of a tease. Obviously we come back to that at the end. We get Diana emerging from the ocean next to Gateway City. Again, really nice panels of her like sort of floating in the air with the water trident. Cool stuff.
She looks so cool. Like this, I love Absolute Wonder Woman so much.
I mean, the crowd seem to think so, because they're all taking photos and whatnot.
We love you. Yeah.
But she gets back to the rest of the characters and says, hey, everyone's here. Where's Io? And they're like, about that, Diana, she kind of just like disappeared immediately. And I love this page where she hears what happened. She goes over to like the ash and the smoke where she's like been like teleported from.
The smoldering ruins of Io.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like at this point, she could be dead. This might be her ashes that are lying on the ground. And Diana goes over and she just says, "Gods, please, if Io is alive and well, give me a sign." And then there's a nice, like, really thin, wide panel of all of the main supporting characters: Steve, Barbara, Candy, all that stuff. And they're all just looking really kind of sad because they're like, "Oh, Diana, you poor ignorant slut. Like, you're not going to get a sign. Don't be silly," right? And then underneath the panel of that, a white dove with like a little like branch,
an olive branch,
comes flying in and lands on her shoulder. And then it goes back to the same shot, the same panel of that group of characters, and all their facial expressions are just turned to like, I guess she did get a sign from the gods then. I'll shut the F up. Don't mind me. Clearly, I'm the one who's the ignorant slut.
I love Barbara Ann goes, well, that's quite bleeping biblical. Right? So like, the dove with the olive branch. Like, is there more of a sign that everything's okay than a dove with an olive branch?
I just love their like skepticism, but it's like in a very touching way, because they're like, oh, Diana, it's just they feel bad for her because like, oh, she's clutching.
You sweet summer child.
Yeah, she's clutching, and then the dove comes in and they're like, well, shit, okay, I'll just keep my mouth shut then, I guess.
Yeah, she is full of wonders, right? Like Wonder Woman literally is. That's why she's called that. But yeah, and then this whole sequence at the end, I was not ready for.
I mean, this is the end of the arc. This is the end of I believe, the second collection, which is a good cliffhanger to end on, which is Io just gets teleported, it turns out, to Themyscira. In walks Hippolyta. Hippolyta comes up to her and says, Io, it's been so long since I've seen you. And she's just happy Io's back because she thinks Io's been missing for a long time. She's not prepared for what Io's about to say, which is, Queen, Diana lives. I've seen her. She's real. She's alive. And Hippolyta runs out and says, ring the bells, Diana lives. And we get a full page spread of like the bell sound effects clanging and like seemingly crowds of Amazons cheering on Themyscira. So the fact that we just sort of, this is the first time we're seeing Themyscira, and it's the first time we're seeing Hippolyta in the absolute universe. And the idea that Hippolyta is so like delighted that Diana's alive is a really heartwarming kind of moment, given that she's never even met Diana really since birth.
Since she handed her over to go to hell for whatever reason.
She said, "Yes, child, go to hell." That's what she said.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I tell children. But hey, But yeah, there's this whole thing of like, well, no, Themyscira, the Amazons are still around. So what kind of magic was done to where Diana couldn't even say Amazon, right? And yet Io was in the labyrinth, down in the maze, right? So she was around in this realm, but as soon as she stepped into regular Earth, she blipped out, got sent back to Themyscira. So like, what is going on? What has happened with the Amazons that they are so isolated?
Yeah, but yeah, I'm trying to remember now. Like, was the other characters that were with her in that maze also Amazons or not?
No, I was the Amazon. Okay. The other were the people that had gotten lost in the maze.
Right. Okay.
Over
because I thought some of them were also Amazons, but maybe they weren't. And so yeah, that maybe suggests that anyone who's actually Themysciran will just get teleported if they dare step into like the normal world, right? And that's what happens as soon as she steps out of that magical maze. It's like, nope, you're in the real world. Whatever magic's in play here, you're not allowed to be here. Zap, back to the island.
Right. And it seems to me like if we're dealing with lightning, that seems like Zeus, right? So it seems like the gods are separating them for whatever reason.
Yeah. Can I say, by the way, I almost didn't read the last part of this issue because it felt like the ending, right? Because there's the title page is after this page, and it felt like an ending page. It felt like a cliffhanger.
We got a post credit.
Yeah, there's an epilogue sequence. And this is the scene with Kale and Dr. Poison, which I kind of already mentioned actually, but like I almost didn't read these couple of pages because and then obviously there's another big reveal at the end of this one, another big cliffhanger, which is, you know, Dr. Poison's meant to be working on this project, the SS1, which I mean, obviously it's DC, so it could be Suicide Squad, but I'm like, don't name something SS. It's just a bad choice. But it's like, okay, so what is that? What is that project? And Kale walks down this hallway with all these different people and like metahumans and monsters like trapped behind cells. I don't know if we're meant to like be able to tell what some of these are. Like one looks like a tiny Giganta, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, it looks like they shrunk her. They're keeping her in a gerbil cage.
Yeah,
like she has tubes and stuff going around, but definitely redheaded, right? So it made me think Giganta. There's a crocodile woman, I would say. So it's like,
is that one of crocodile? Is that one of the Shazam things?
It felt like Sobek, right? The crocodile person from 52. Right?
Okay,
but it has blonde hair, right? So
that's true. I didn't even notice that. It has blonde hair. You're right.
Yeah, right. Then there's someone in a thing with a bunch of notes hanging all over, which could be a bunch of stuff. What looks like one of the fish people there.
Yeah.
And then the thing that got my eye, it looks like a cheetah tail.
Yes,
right through there.
But keep in mind, and even regular DC. I mean, admittedly, continuity obviously been reset a bunch of times, but Barbara Ann Minerva is not the first cheetah in DC's existence, so there could be previous cheetahs.
Of course. So yeah, definitely, and they're all part of this super secret underground thing that Kale's working on.
Yes, but when we get to the final page and Kale's like, hey, I'm letting you out, it's time to go kill a witch, meaning Wonder Woman, of course, and we get this very like ultra Hannibal Lecter-esque muzzle over the mouth, straight jacket, a bunch of straps. And obviously we wouldn't be able to tell who this is if they didn't tell us, so they put it in the dialogue for us. Thank you very much, Kelly Thompson. Because obviously we don't see a top hat, we don't see fishnets. How would we might know this is Zatanna?
Right.
So
she is strapped to the walls. She has a thing over her mouth. A completely straight jacketed. It definitely looks like almost like an old Houdini poster in a way. But done through sci-fi.
Oh, an escape artist kind of thing. Yeah, that's kind of close to magic tricks. Yeah, that's in that.
Yeah,
realm.
so yeah. That, like, oh man, like I had read through, some of the solicits or whatever. We were going to be getting Absolute Zatanna. I didn't realize she was going to show up at the end of this arc here in a post-credit, epilogue scene as part of Kale's machinations. So I am very curious, seeing how Wonder Woman's magic has worked. How the hell is Zatanna's going to work? Right, because we know she's going to speak backwards, but there's got to be something else to it.
Hey, it's the Absolute Universe. That's not a guarantee. She might be speaking
right
Pig Latin or something. I don't know.
in tongues, But it definitely seems like she's not here by her own free will, right? So there is the
what makes you say that, Matt?
of her. Yeah, right. Well, what I mean is, it's not like she went to them and be like, I need to be locked up. I can't trust my magic.
Well, of course.
Stuff. I
was making a joke because she's clearly restrained in a variety of ways. Yeah.
So what do they have on her that they're going to allow her to go out to kill Wonder Woman? Like, I want to know. I need her backstory, like, now, which is great writing. Also,
I think Kelly Thompson must know that she is serving a group of sickos with this idea of Zatanna being tied up like this. I think she knows what she's doing. She's playing the, get that 1% ultra perv demographic invested.
Look, the reason why Wonder Woman has a lasso is for that same demographic that the creator was a part of, which is like how you used to defeat Wonder Woman was to bound her by the ankles and wrists, and that you just defeated her, so that's also plays into the lush backstory that is Wonder Woman.
It feels like at some point when they created Catwoman, which was not actually that much later, if even at all, actually, because Catwoman was pretty early in Batman's lineage. But certainly the more like catsuit whip version of Catwoman, it feels like someone said, we're not going to pretend. Wonder Woman's too busy pretending it's not an S&M kink. We're just going to go full hog with it with Catwoman. We're not even going to hold back.
Full hog indeed.
Anyway, yeah, I mean, it was a very good issue. I mean, I think my only critique of this arc is that maybe like the maze itself wasn't the most exciting setting to be in for multiple issues. So I don't know how we could have solved that, but everything, the introduction of Ferdinand, the introduction of all this stuff here at the end is super exciting. So it's hard to be too critical. I still think my favorite arc of this book is the first arc, right? I don't think that's been topped yet, but that's a high bar, so it's not saying too much, for sure, negatively. So yeah.
Well, I also love it that Thompson has set the table for the Amazons too, right? Like, it's not up in the front, it's not in the forefront, but Io going back to Themyscira and Hippolyta being aware that Diana's around, right? That sets the table for some really long-term storytelling.
Oh yeah, big reunions down the line, or if they eventually lift this whole curse where they can't be on the mainland, maybe the Amazons can come in as a cavalry or something, or maybe Diana has to go save them at some point because someone's going to go after them to get back at her. I mean, I don't know, but regardless, it does feel like a good bit of world building for Diana. And then it's funny because, like, obviously we were always going to get to whatever the version of Themyscira and Hippolyta was in this universe. Zatanna is more of like a out of left field kind of thing. It's like, okay, I see how that fits in because of the magic use, but it's not something that was obviously going to happen. So it's kind of a fun reveal to like have her involved too.
It's up there with Ra's al Ghul and Absolute Superman for me. And I was like, oh, okay, I can see how these would work with one another in this universe, so, but yeah, man, I love Zatanna.
And Zatanna is more of an imminent concern, because I suspect that'll be a big part of the next arc, is Zatanna coming into, whether she's willing or not, whether she's, whatever, but she's going to be an antagonist to Wonder Woman, at least to begin with.
Being that Wonder Woman friends her enemies, I can't wait till they get to be friends. That's all I want. I want the two superheroes to be friends and stuff. So, and just also Kale with Dr. Poison and the manipulation going on. I wonder if that's going to have any, like when Dr. Poison gets the suit that she needs to get more dexterous and whatever,
Well, two points on that. They say, okay, give her the new suit, but don't give her the current Mark V. Give her the Mark 1, so she gets a slight upgrade, but not the full thing. And two, Dr. Poison basically says, the day you try and, kill me, Kale, or, take me away, is the day that I will kill you. So it's not exactly a friendly relationship. It's a very hostile working environment for both of them, I think.
Right. And it has me cheering for this version of Dr. Poison. We're like, all right, they're working through it. It's made a protagonist in Dr. Poison. And I feel like the trust issues that we thought at the beginning of this arc, I definitely feel like Dr. Poison has a plan and is working against Kale in a way, So, and yeah, just Kale being this big baddie in the absolute universe is really cool as well, because she feels just as dangerous, as any of the other people that we've seen.
Oh yeah, I'm into it. I love Dr. Poison's look in this. I love the big sort of like deep sea diving style, like hazmat, like containment suit or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. So, and obviously the layouts are fantastic, as they have been throughout all of the book, pretty much. So, Matt, what are you giving Absolute Wonder Woman 12?
I give this a 9.
I'm going 8.5. I'm going 8.5. I think we're still in the maze for a bit, and the maze hasn't been the most interesting location, and I'm just going to dock it a little bit for that. But everything coming out of this, everything with the sign from the dove, the Ferdinand getting out and helping the siren, the ending with Hippolyta, the ending with Zatanna, all that stuff was all freaking great. So, good stuff. Green Lantern 27, Legacy number 594, Jeremy Adams writing with Xermánico on the art. So, this is the penultimate part of the Starbreaker Supremacy. It starts off with a little flashback of Hal and John, where they're debating who got to pay the bill after dinner, and Hal's still paying the bill, and admits that he was a little jealous when John first became a Green Lantern, because he wasn't the special only human Green Lantern anymore. But they've had their backs for years, and it's just a kind of a heartwarming scene. And it's like, okay, why are you putting this here, Adams? I smell something sad by the end of this issue. And sure enough, at least for the time being, it seems like John has sacrificed himself. Or maybe at the very least you could say that he's become the entity inside the power batteries, is kind of what it feels like. But yeah, so we get the Green Lanterns who were out on the mission on the ship, racing back to Oa, debating the fact that, look, we barely survived when we had those entities to help fight them with us. Now we don't even have that. What can we even do? Sinestro's been a bit of a downer about the whole thing. And they're like, well, what else can we do? And it's actually the ring with John's mom in it, or the idea of John's mother says, no, John's going to have a plan, because he always has a plan. So, and he does have a plan. John Stewart's whole plan is to convince all of the prisoners in the science cells to help fight the Starbreaker Corps, because ultimately they're going to kill everyone here, so it's in all your interest to do this. And basically they all bang on the glass to kind of say, yeah, we're all in, let's do it. Which leads to the big moment later on in the book when John does give himself to the power batteries, which lights them all up. So we get this glorious big sequence of the rings flying out to Atrocitus. He gets a red ring back. Larfreeze gets his. They all say their oaths and all that. We get that page where it's all split into almost like the Trivial Pursuit pizza of colors.
Yes,
is what I call it.
-1, which there's I have questions here that we've seen. The violent energy is not represented here. And I know Carol's running around with the Justice League and stuff.
Well, she's here.
But no, I know. But the absence of the violent energy and stuff, as I'm sure is a story point to come.
Just say the word again for me. Say the color.
Violet.
Yeah. because every time you said it in the last 30 seconds, it sounded like you were saying violent, and you keep saying the violent energy, and I'm like, violent? What are you talking about?
I mean, it's just the type of energy I contain, Pete. Is violent energy.
Apparently, you just
violet. There we go. I'll spread it out more. But yeah, that was a really cool scene. As a long time Green Lantern nerd, right? Seeing them all do their oaths here wasn't necessary, but was it cool?
It's been a while. Yeah, it felt like a nice thing to see it again. You know, I was popping for Larfreeze, getting these. What's mine is mine. It's not yours. It's mine. That whole oath. Yeah. So yeah, they also do a little bit more stuff with the gauntlet, right? Where
Krona.
Yeah, Ellie's kind of like saying, "Hey, this is a big deal. We have to go deal with this." And the poor girl is trying to tell John Stewart that there's a serious problem with this Krona stuff, and he's like, "This will have to wait. We've got too much stuff going on. Don't tell me." And I'm like, "John, listen to her. This is kind of a big deal." So we see Baz with the Krona Gauntlet doing stuff, but we, again, we're still building to whatever that's going to be. I do want to point out though, the layout in that double page, layout, not a spread per se, where John is making the speech to all the villains in the science cells, where it's like looking down and it's this big circular like shaft with all the cells, and all the panels are made into like forming a circle around the edges of this. Like, so it's got a really cool layout that feels like you're looking down this infinite like prison, effectively. Really cool stuff.
And then all the panels, and you can see like, villains and whoever that we can recognize, right? Through there, Larfleeze and Atrocitus, the Dark Star guy that they brought in before. I don't know his name, but yeah, Bleeze is there, Dexstar. So I thought that was really cool too, that it makes that spiral.
Who's the big-headed Red Lantern? That one's there too.
Oh God, I want to say Zilius Zox.
Oh, that sounds.
If I remember right.
That's ringing a bell. That sounds at least close, if not bang on. So he's there because he gets a red ring back as well when John does his whole thing. So the Krona stuff's still up in there. We still got that. Interestingly though, when John does his whole thing, goes into the power batteries, they're all lighting up, everyone's getting their rings, which is a really fun, big, spectacular moment. It's interesting that what's his face? The Saint Walker. He was in green. Like he had a Green Lantern ring, but he becomes blue again when he gets a blue ring back. But the big moment here is that, because I thought what was going to happen here is that Kelly was going to get a proper ring, and it was going to be like, hey, you've got a ring now, you don't need the gauntlet. Instead, the sister, the Construct, which they even teased that she might disappear, because John, before he goes into the power battery, says, hey, I don't know what's going to happen to you if I'm technically not around, like feeding you my willpower, right? Because technically you exist as part of my will. But instead of anything else, it's a ring comes to her. So we actually have a Construct is now a Green Lantern herself, which is an interesting idea.
And it's a blue ring, right? So what we knew about the blue rings were Hope by itself it couldn't do much, but with the green it would superpower it. So if a blue ring goes on this living green construct, what does that mean?
Do you know, you're right, and I didn't notice, because I'm going to actually critique this a little bit. I think they could have made that more obvious with the colors. Because she's still so bathed in, and I get that she would still be green because she's a construct, but the outfit should be blue, I think. And I think the blue ring, because I'm looking at it now, it is slightly blue compared to her hand.
Yeah.
But it could be a stronger blue. Like, what the hell?
What made me know that it was blue was the flash in the lettering.
Yeah, well, I'm looking
all blue.
I'm looking at the symbol on her chest. That is the blue symbol, right? Right. So it does make sense. I'm just critiquing that it didn't stick out as obvious to me that it was a blue ring. I thought it was a green ring because the coloring wasn't strong enough to like really point out this is a blue ring and a blue suit. So I would argue that a little bit, but I mean, fair enough. That is still interesting. Maybe the idea is that because like this is like John's creation who is built out of the hope or something, like she is inherently hopeful, but it is curious because I was going to suggest when I thought it was a green ring that this was literally still just John's will, that John had picked her because he's in there now, but instead it's the blue lantern that's doing it. So who knows?
And they point out the reason why he can go in and relight the lanterns, right, is because he was chosen by the Source.
Oh yeah, it was Source.
Because of his insurmountable will.
Matt, see, before you explain this is the sort of stuff where they just start saying, "Oh, he got Source energy like 10 arcs ago," and I'm just like, "Yeah, fine, whatever."
Yeah. Well, no, but like he had this insurmountable will, and it was through that will that he was able to keep his mom's memory alive in the ring, right, and then bring his sister. And so this is what essentially makes him have the decision that he should be the one to go do this.
Yes,
because he's having a hard time keeping it all in check, and he's going to go and restart it.
Yes, they're pointed out. They're just dotting their I's and crossing their T's. They're saying this is why he can do this when no other Green Lantern can, is because he has this extra supercharged energy from the Source Wall, meaning that he has unlimited willpower in comparison to everyone else. That's fine. Whenever they bring this stuff up, though, I'm like, I'm never going to remember this bullshit that you did,
That's all I need to know,
ago.
is that he had the Source energy and all that type of stuff, but, having that through and him relighting all of these power batteries, I thought was super, super cool,
Yeah, so the book just ends with the Starbreaker Corps is arriving, but obviously we've just supercharged everyone, and the ending of this arc is in the next issue of Green Lantern Corps. So it was a 6-issue arc all in between the two books, which obviously took place over 3 months, so that's kind of fun. I was actually looking at the collections for Green Lantern, and I didn't really notice, but the last Green Lantern arc, or maybe 2 arcs ago, was heavily sped up as well by 2 specials, so it effectively double shipped in 2 months to have an arc much quicker. So they've done this a couple of times where they've kind of sped up some of the arcs in this book by having it kind of bleed into a second book kind of thing, but which is not a complaint. It makes the story flow a bit quicker, so I'm not fussed about it. It's just interesting to note they've done it a couple of times now.
Yes. Do we think that Kelly's going to remain Teen Lantern? Do you think they'll work away? Because I feel like they've kind of done away with the rings picking people, right? And like with that little, I think his name's Narf, right? Like he has the ability to have great will, just like I feel Kelly does. So I feel like if she wants to choose to be a Lantern, I feel like that's ultimately,
This is how our minds work differently, Matt, because you're trying to justify it from a lore perspective. I think she's definitely going to be sticking around in some form, possibly as a Lantern, but not because of lore reasons. Like, they'll explain it however they want to. They'll make up something. Who cares?
Okay.
She's going to stick around because I think they've built her up enough that they want to keep her around. Like, they've not spent all this time building her character up to like get rid of her. So from a writing standpoint, she's sticking around.
Yeah. But I was just like, in what type of way? Like, can she create like she has that gauntlet, right? That's what she's used to. Like, will she, after they defeat Corona, will she be able to have her own gauntlet, back? And then that's how she stays Teen Lantern. Because I do like how her origin was so different, right? That she had found this thing or whatever. So I just hope they keep that aspect of it that makes her feel unique. So I just hope the story's good. I mean, I don't know. At a certain point, some of this stuff is just like whatever nerdy reason they came up with. Like, I'll roll with it to a point unless it feels like you're especially talking bullshit. Is basically my attitude. All right, what were you giving? Oh, you already rated it. No.
Oh, you didn't? I'll rate it then.
No. I'm going to 7.5. It's pretty strong. Pretty decent.
Yeah, I agree with the 7.5. I think it's just slightly falling short of great. Just purely because, well, it's not even so much this issue per se. I think the arc as a whole is falling just short of great, but it's been a pretty enjoyable payoff to what they've been building to. I keep saying this with this run, but it really is like a book that I enjoy the run more than I enjoy like an individual issue in a weird way. Really, I think it's more than the sum of its parts, and I like that it's keeping all these characters involved, and it made me nostalgic to have them all get their rings back and say all their oaths, because I'm like, hey, my first big Green Lantern run was very much that 2000s, like all those cores been introduced, so it felt like a big deal. So, and I think some of the layouts and the art are pretty good, and obviously Xermánico is a very strong artist in general, but there's a lot of good layouts in this one in particular. So I will agree with the 7.5. Justice League Unlimited issue 11, Mark Waid writing with Carmine D. Giandomenico on the art. Now, I'm pretty I mean, I could be wrong, but did Mora do the last issue of this?
I can look. Let me get a minute to load them up. I can't remember.
I say this because obviously he often does 2 books a month, if not even a third, because he's a madman when no other artist can do that. But because I definitely felt, maybe it's just because we saw Mora do some of the like similar moments in Superman this week. But as soon as I opened this book, because I read Superman first out of the 2 of them, when I opened this book up, I went, oh, the change in art style is so wild, because Giandomenico's got such a different look to Dan Mora. It's just not even like remotely close. But anywho, so the whole thing around the Watchtower is, 1, Mr. Terrific's running from the parademons that have just hatched from that other parademon they had locked up. 2, Time Trapper's got the time bubble around him that only Metamorpho can go into because it's aging everything around him. Some of the League that are on there are trying to like keep rebuilding parts of the Watchtower out of spare parts to try and not die in space.
I did like that. Like, it just seems everyone is trying to do something and it's all impossible, but that's why they're the Justice League, right?
Yeah. But they also can't call in any help. Like, they can't contact any other members because all their comms are down. So, and even if they could, like the portal, the teleporter's not working. So all this is going on, and also we have the other group with Geoforce and Power Girl and the werewolf dude that I never remembered the name of.
Cadejo.
I'm going to forget it in 5 seconds.
Yes,
but they're dealing with the Darkseid Legion member under Macrovia. So that's going on as well. So all this stuff is going, and Joe, I was actually really kind of, before I read this book, I was like, oh, I don't know, I'm not feeling the enthusiasm to read this. And in a weird way, that lowered the expectation of like almost thinking I didn't like the last issue made me appreciate this a little bit more, because I'm like, oh, that's not that bad. Like, I don't love it, but like it felt like it flowed well enough. Like, everything was well defined. I almost do feel a bit weird though about like already seeing the ending in Superman, because I'm like, well, I know how this is going to end. Like, clearly they're just going to solve all this issue, which basically is Mr. Terrific chases the parademons so they all go into the time bubble that the Time Trapper's got, so they all just disintegrate with age, which is a fun way of dealing with it. He gets Flash's help to do that while he does some tornado arms. And then basically Superman and Booster Gold show up at the portal and are like, get everyone here now, and that kind of just kind of maps all. So it's like, okay, obviously we've got the special coming, which apparently is next week, the Omega Axe special, so that's going to be part of this whole ongoing storyline with the build to all the Absolute crossover stuff. And of course KO's starting next month. So this is all setting up that stuff. I think this and Superman are both just kind of like, they're fine. Like, they're both fine at setting some things in motion, but I feel like KO itself is probably going to be a lot more enjoyable. At least I hope it is anyway. But
I think so too. This, I mostly enjoyed this. I liked all of the split off teams. Like when the team's underneath Markovia and they're going and that big hand comes up, and you're like, what the hell? Then you realize it's Colossal Boy from Darkseid's Legion. But then
yes, that's exactly what I thought, Matt. I went, that's Colossal, but I know who that is. That's exactly what I was thinking.
You don't like the Legion like I do, Pete, so I have an edge here.
99% of DC readers don't like the Legion. Never mind the percentage of the world at large.
Yes, well, that's fine. It shows on that, and then when Element Lad,
you're the 1% of the 1%.
Yes, that's right. But I do like that as they're there, we get a flavor for the Darkseid Legion, like where Saturn Girl makes Power Girl see Krypton, right? And then she realizes something's wrong. But after they get through all of that, there's like this weird darkness that's calling to them, that's in the center.
That's right. It's almost like Darkseid's like starting to influence them, because they start getting angsty and kind of evil when they realize it, so they kind of pull away and get going.
Because they have to pull. Cadejo pulls Captain Atom out with his Ghost Rider chains, and which that's all he is Ghost Rider with he's Werewolf Ghost Rider. What's not to love? But so
who is he?
Pulls him out.
Where did he come from?
Yes.
When did he show up? I don't know any of these questions.
I don't know. But I just realized when I said the Ghost Rider chains, right? But Captain Adam's like, what the hell's down there? And Power Girl's like, it's darker than, it says beats me, should be mantled on the core, but all I see is utter blackness, darker than anything, and it wants us. It's calling to us, and it starts to pull her in, and Geoforce has to stop her, and then they go back up. So it's like, what the hell? Like, what has Darkseid been up to that he's able to, have this great darkness? Which again, you're not going to care because it's a Legion story, but that's the crux of the Great Darkness saga,
I mean, they're weak of mind. They are easily corrupted because they're the Legion, and they kind of suck. That's the answer.
Right, but what are you explaining about Power Girl and wanting her too, pulling her down?
Well, I mean, she wasn't inspired by Superman, Absolute Power Girls, or not.
Right.
Well, no, sorry, I'm saying Saturn Girl. Power Girl, you meant.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't know. She's weighed down by two massive balloons.
yeah, there you go. I figured that was going to be your answer. Yeah, I like that because it set the, it really set the tone of this, that something is rotting, the earth is rotting from the inside out. And all the cracks are starting to show.
I wonder if that is what's they're realizing someone's going to become a new Darkseid, so that's what's going to lead to chaos. That maybe that's the real seed for that is this literal seed in the core of the earth. But yeah. So yeah, it feels like it's just setting some things up, and it is a very readable, fine enough issue. I probably would say I like this even a little bit more than the Superman issue, which not that I give that a high score, but like, I think I enjoyed this a little bit more, maybe because I had more characters to jump around. And it really feels like, while this is intentional or not, obviously lots of people discovered and really liked Mr. Terrific from the Superman movie. It's interesting that this week he showed up in Detective, he's featured prominently in this, and then of course Mr. Terrific Year 1 was out, and I'm like, damn, I'm really feeling the people like Mr. Terrific right now. We need to strike with the iron's hot. Let's get Mr. Terrific, which is not a complaint. I enjoyed all of his appearances this week, so no issues from me.
Yeah.
But yeah, what are you giving Unlimited here?
I'm gonna give it a 7.5.
I'll give. I'll squeeze up to the 7 for this one. I think I liked it more than Superman. But I wouldn't call it a great issue either. It's kind of good for what it is, but it's very much like a bit of business to set up some things, and that's kind of all it is. So, but hey, that's that. Mr. Terrific, Year 1, Issue 5, Al Letson, writing with Valentine de Landro on the art. So yeah, this book's been very good, and I think it's still excellent. With the little caveat that the opening set in the present day, I still feel is unnecessary. And every time I start one of these issues, I'm like, oh yeah, I forget that we have to do this first before we get to the main part of the book.
Look, I know what this is building to. I know it's going to be a face-off between Mr. Terrific and what's her name, the one that's running the energy in the past story, and that's fine. I don't really know what's going on in there, and I don't think I need to. I think the main crux of the story in the past is doing a lot more for me than anything.
Like, I am loving the main part of this book, which is like 85 to 90% of it. But I think this one annoyed me a little bit more than the opening than the other issues, because Fairplay shows up, and I'm like, I feel like I'm meant to be really like caring about the fact that Fairplay, which is Mr. Terrific's son, long lost son at that, is showing up. So it feels like a little bit of a hodgepodge, and I'm like, I almost wish the collection just took out these parts. It just presented the rest of it as a Year 1 story. Because once we get to that, we've got Mr. Terrific going back to his own city. Bruce Wayne, he's like, hey Bruce, can you help me buy this company back so they can't turn on this Nexus engine? Like, let's do that. I've got money. He tells him,
he's like, I have money, but you've got a fortune. I love that. I love him, appealing to Bruce there. Like, use your money for good, bud.
And he keeps throwing his money around as well, because then he's like, hey, I want to set up clinics in like this part of the city where all people are getting sick. And he's like, that's going to cost a lot of money, Mr. Well, they don't call him Mr. Terrific because it's not his name, but Holt, Mr. Holt. Mikel. That was an Arrested Development joke for those who didn't get it.
Mike.
He should have named his son Steve, god damn it. Anyway.
Steve Holt.
Yeah.
Steve Holt. But I also like to see that he's developing his T-spheres more and more. Like, we're getting a little bit closer.
Yeah, but he's still very much
tinkering.
Yeah, but he's still very much, I'm not a hero. That's not for me. I'm out of that game. Mm-hmm. And then Black Lightning shows up and says, hey, we need to talk. And I love that Mikel, Mr. Teriffic, is like immediately like, take that stupid mask off. I'm not talking to you with that clown get up on.
Hey, get down before my neighbors see you.
Yeah.
You know, as he comes to the dock.
He's embarrassed. And then basically over the course of the conversation, like, one, they have it out a little bit that he didn't make it to his wedding. Like, you know, Jefferson didn't get there because he was doing Justice League business or Outsiders business.
I was on a mission. Yeah. It's like, all right, whatever, bro.
Yeah. But, he's like, look, you can't stay out of this, and you're asking for help to deal with this and stop the Nexus engine because you can't help but want to do the right thing. And he's like, you're saying you're not a hero, but how do you think I became a hero? Because I kept not being able to stay out of things, because I kept wanting to do the right thing. So ultimately, when the big thing happens and the explosion goes off, which we'll get to in a second, he's like, look, I need to go because stuff's happening and you're coming with me. And it seems like he's pretty easy to convince at that point. So, you know, I think their friendship's been really interesting in this. I love like that friendship exists and it's getting a chance to kind of blossom. You know, it's I'm trying to like I don't want to sound weird here, but like I feel like, you know how sometimes writers or like people when they're talking about TV shows, movies, comics, whatever, and it's like really pointed out that, you know, we have the Bechdel test for when two women have a conversation but don't talk about a man, and it's kind of nice because it's showing that, hey, these are fully fleshed characters. And it's nice to have women who are just friends or women who are supporting each other. I kind of feel like here I'm getting a little bit of like an appreciation for the fact that there's two black characters who are friends, who have histories that are fleshed out, who are there to support each other. And it feels quite nice because we don't get it that often. You know, I'm feeling similar kind of vibes from how you talk about when you're talking about it's nice to have two women supporting each other, you know?
Well, yeah, and the fact that there's a tension between them that gets resolved and it feels real. It feels like an actual conversation that friends would have. You know, where he's like, you know, you've been ducking me since you and Paula got married. It's like, well, you've been playing superhero. And, you know, he's like, you were just mad. And like the way that they come to it and just the way that Delandro's art with their expressions, where it's not a lot, right? It's a 9-panel grid. But just the way that he has them positioned with their posture, slight looks and everything, you could just follow the conversation even without the dialogue, right?
Yeah.
But the dialogue makes it that much more.
And I think the art is down to earth and it is just a grid because it doesn't want to make this flashy. It wants to make it just raw emotions. Right. It's straight to the point. It's the characters having these conversations. Meanwhile, Miss Prescott, you know, the lady at the company with the Nexus engine, she wakes up because if you remember last issue, she went in with the hazmat suit even though it was probably going to kill her. Because she's so scared of not succeeding because Darkseid's going to do unforeseen things to her.
Darkseid owns her soul. So, you know.
Yeah. So she's
and she is jacked up.
Oh yeah, she's in the hospital and she's not supposed to leave, but she's like, no, we're turning on that engine now. We're doing it today. Let's get back to the lab. So against her lawyer's wishes, against everyone's wishes, she's insisting on going. But of course, the other thing we set up last issue is that was it Cormorant's the name of the guy that was like the head of security? He now has it in for her because she fired him. And so he actually has planted explosives. And I actually didn't know who was doing this at first, but we get these like close-up panels of him looking at a timer on his watch, and it's counting down to something. And I like that right before the explosion goes off, you see her looking, like Miss Prescott's looking at her hand, and it's glowing purple. Almost as if, I mean, obviously it's sort of starting to maybe go Kirby Crackle, and we kind of see maybe hints of that in later pages, but it's almost like it's like a sensing the explosion is going to go off, because then the next page is boom, big explosion, and Cormorant comes out, starts opening fire, and that obviously is what calls in Mr. Teriffic and Black Lightning to the scene. So they show up and have their big superhero moments where, you know, Lightning can go off and try and contain the explosion, save people. Mr. Teriffic is after Cormorant and get some, you know, fun moments here. I like the, again, the layouts aren't overly, like, flashy, but there is, like, a fun page here when Terrific's fighting Cormorant and he's got the T-spheres hitting his face, where they intentionally have the panels going, like, basically off page is the best way I can put it, where most of these pages have gutters, right? And there's gutters at the bottom of this page. But these like sort of like sequences here at the top, the panel like starts as if it's coming off frame, which is pretty normal, but what makes it feel like it's going off page is that the start of the panel is on the right hand side.
Around. Yeah.
So you get this feeling of like the T-spheres coming full circle and swinging around and hitting them. So it's really, really nice. It's a really nice little touch.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, and just that they're coming from all angles too, right? Like we're not getting the same angle of them striking Cormorant. So I love all that. And then the last set of panels that does that, it all comes back into focus where it plays out. It's still the 3 panels,
but they're in the right order.
Out sequentially. Yeah. It's so cool. And then we also get, you brought up in the last book we were talking about the influence of the Superman movie.
Oh yeah, he says Teriffic. A line basically.
He says the line.
Yeah,
which is great because this is his first outing as Mr. Terrific. Yeah,
because I wouldn't say that I've been hearing that actor's voice like as Mr. Terrific as I've been reading, because I don't do that for most people, to be fair. But it was hard not to hear it a little bit when he said, "I'm goddamn Mr. Terrific," because I just bought that movie like yesterday. By the way, I own the movie now. So
nice
fun. But no, it was it's a good fight scene, and he's like, I'm always going to be here to stop people like you, and it kind of feels like he's kind of committing to the hero life a little bit. So yeah, the final page is him in Black Lightning standing tall, and it feels like we've reached a pivotal point. However, in the background, if you pay attention, we're not done yet, because Prescott seems to have turned into a living embodiment of Kirby Crackle, and she's floating back there. So I feel like they're going to have a bigger fight on their hands with the final issue. Yeah. So fun.
For sure.
Yeah.
I also loved when Cormorant, when that starts going off, and just the difference in the colors, right? Like he's looking through the scope, so it's all green, and then it goes down to that kind of drab because he's dropping like the smoke or whatever. That's what I took that as, right? All the white over the paintings, and then it goes back to the green, and then when Terrific and Black Lightning jump in, right, the background goes red, and they're dodging bullets, and they're being witty and stuff, and just the progression over that page, I thought was really well handled.
Yeah. No, I mean, the book's really good stuff. Honestly, I almost just wish that present day stuff at the start. And I'm wondering how it's going to work out next issue, because I feel like it would make more sense to go at the end of next issue, given that it's probably going to wrap up.
Well, yeah. Because we got to see how he initially deals with Athena, right? And then we have to see how that's causing the problems for him in the current day, right?
So I just hope it
would make sense.
I hope it's kept to a minimum. I hope it's still mostly the year one story, because the year one story is fantastic. And I think that opening, I'm docking at a half point specifically for those first few pages where I just don't care about this modern day stuff that much. I don't care about how this ties into what's going on with the current storylines. I really don't. I just like the year one story. I think it's very good. Yeah. Right.
Well, and anybody that's told me that they like Mr. Terrific after talking to them about the Superman movie, I've been recommending this. I'm like, I'm sure you can go and find the first issue if you want to collect it physically, but if you want to get it digitally, they're all there.
Yeah, I mean, the collection is probably not too far away now, because the last issue is next month, and then so
yeah, and I already know two people alone that I've talked to, one at work and then one at wrestling, have picked it up, and we've talked about it, and it's just a good feeling that when you can expand, the horizons, and that it kind of the whole way some people have found DC Comics was through, Batman Begins or whatever, 20 years ago. And now we're being able to do that again.
Don't say that was 20 years ago. It makes me feel ancient. Like I remember seeing that movie. It's like I still sometimes think of myself as a new comic book reader, and I'm like, no, I've been reading for 20 years. There's nothing new about me in the comic book world now.
I've had a pull box for 23 years at a comic shop. All right. So like we've been going. So it's wild. Yeah, this book is a lot of fun. I can't wait till it is. It's one of those books that you'll be able to pick up and hand to somebody. Like, here's what you need to know about Mr. Terrific. And then the art, I mean, we talk about it every time too. Landro's art.
Yeah, it's got honestly, you just need to say, don't worry about those bits at the start of each issue. Just enjoy the year one story. And it's really well drawn. It feels really down to earth in a really good grounded way. Character development's solid. but it still has connections to the DC universe because Batman already exists, the Spectre already exists, and Black Lightning obviously already exists. And I like that, much like Superman may have been a gateway for people to like Mr. Terrific, they might read this and go, oh, who's this is Black Lightning character? He seems cool, and maybe that leads to another book down the line. So anyway, what are you rating issue 5 of Mr. Terrific Year 1?
I'm gonna give this an 8.
I think I'll agree with. I think it would be an 8.5, but I'm going to dock it that half point for the opening few pages and just not caring about that stuff as much.
Fair play at the Hellhound. That's how I remember from those.
Yes, fair play. So there you go. All right, every month on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, you can make me read a book of your choosing at one of the higher tiers. I've got a couple to do this week. So first up, I'm going to look at Gideon Falls, issue 2, the Jeff Lemire book. Issue 1 was super cool, super intriguing. I think this second issue takes this a bit further. Last issue, we had the priest who came to the small town, but then the previous priest who was supposed to be dead showed up in his bedroom, and then he saw the black barn, and then this woman who was like the caretaker of the house turned up dead. Meanwhile, there was the guy in the city who's like going to therapy and collecting bits of trash, and at the end of the issue you realize that he's having visions of the black barn. In fact, the thing we start off with this issue is he's with his therapist in the park. They're having like an outside appointment, and he's explaining that he thinks he knows what he's collecting now, all these bits of trash that he's drawn to, these nails, these bits of wood. He thinks he's collecting the pieces of this black barn. That's what he thinks. And that's super interesting because instantly I was like, wait, so is this set later than the other parts of the story and like the black barn's destroyed? However, a little bit later in this issue, when the police are interrogating the priest about the dead body, they point out that this barn doesn't exist there. Like the priest says he saw a black barn, and they're like, no, there's no barn out there. So I'm like, okay, so it's like a supernatural, otherworldly thing. So they might still be the say at the same time. But like if the barn has like exploded and is all around the city for this character to find, then what does that mean exactly? But either way, he's having visions of it, and that's what he thinks he's collecting, which is a really interesting little wrinkle to this. So he's trying to explain because he's basically saying to his therapist that, because they're walking away from a bench that we're sitting at, and there was some trash next to it, and he's like, I really want to go back and check that trash. I think there's something in there that I need to find. And she's like, no, it's healthy that you didn't, because it's good that you're telling me. Let's not do that. Let's keep walking. And he's like, but I think it's important. And there's a great like page here, because I talked a lot in the last issue about how mostly it's these very muted colors in the art. The Sorrentino art is beautiful, but
which can be expected, right? Yeah. That's Sorrentino. But
there's these red and black panels that really are striking when things are like getting evil or there's like a greater thing. And when he's walking away, and it's when she says, can you tell me what you're trying to find with this garbage? There's a panel here where not only does it bring in the red and the black, but it kind of does this thing, almost like the 3D glasses when they're not aligned and you get like a sort of double image. It kind of does that, like there's like a little, almost like he's feeling like a red glitch of like a sense of like something's there. But he's basically saying, I can't tell you what it is. I can't tell you what I think I'm finding. And she's like, come on. How about this? How about I agree to let you go back and look through the trash, but you have to tell me what it is you're looking for. And he doesn't find anything. He's like, okay, false alarm, there's nothing here. But she's like, no, you have to tell me what you're looking for, what you think you're finding. You promised. So he whips out his drawing of the barn and says, it's the black barn. This is what I'm finding pieces of. So I said, okay, this is interesting. We're exploring this. We cut to the priest in Gideon Falls, who's been interrogated by the police. And the police lady here clearly is suspicious of him. Is like, you're the new guy in town. This woman turns up dead. I've looked into your past. You've got a drinking problem. Were you drinking tonight? Because like you couldn't have seen the previous priest because he's dead. He drowned. Although they do reveal that they never found his body. They found his car, his keys, and like a bunch of his belongings in the water, but they never found him, which the priest points out. But there is another cop who seems a little bit more sympathetic. He also comes in and says, "Hey, we've found another body," and that kind of ends the interrogation. We go back to the city. And our scavenger character goes back to his apartment, and he sort of walks past this guy who waves at him as he walks out. And when he gets up to his apartment, his locks have been broken. And I love the fact that all the muted colors are there, but behind, as the door opens, like, it's just red. Like, the other side of the door is just, like, solid red. So again, it really implies something's happened, there's danger. Also, this panel's presented sideways. Like, it's like horizontal panels, but he's walking down the panels, so everything's flipped on its side. But when he gets in there, we get this great circular panel where the walls are red, but clearly his apartment's been ransacked, and all of the pieces of the black barn that he's been collecting are all gone. Someone has stolen them all. So that freaks him out, obviously. Right? Big moment. The mystery in this book's so good. Like, the way it just kind of is teasing all this stuff out, and you don't quite know, but we're getting a good sense of who our two main characters are at this point. The priest calls the bishop and says, hey, they think I killed someone, and the bishop, who we never see, we just see, like, behind the chair where the speech bubbles come out of it, he's like, well, did you? And he's like, no, of course not. Well, you've got nothing to worry about then. This will all be cleared up. Don't worry. Which is making me side-eye the bishop. It almost feels like the church knew that something's going on here, and they sent him here as like a scapegoat or as a sacrificial lamb, whatever you want to call it. It feels very ominous. But the priest is taken to his cell, because he's still kind of like, under lock and key for now. And the police officer is taking him. He's like, hey, for what it's worth, I don't think you did it. It sounds like that bishop's an asshole kind of thing. And he's like, sorry for my language. He's like, no, you're right, he's a ballbuster. So it's kind of like making the priest a little bit more down to earth again. Which the first issue kind of implied that as well, is that he didn't want special treatment. He didn't want to be looked at as just a priest. But, he's like, for what it's worth, Father, I believe you. And he's like, why? He's like, well, there's a weird feeling here. I do think when this is all over, you should go see Doc Sutton. So he gives him a recommendation of someone to go see. Like, go tell your story to this other character. He may be able to help you. And it's like, okay, this is kind of weird. And he's like, why do you think he can tell me or help me? Like, why are you telling me all this? He's like, I probably shouldn't say any more. The sheriff would be pissed if I'm telling you all this, what I've already told you. So I'll just leave you be. But so he just leaves him there, and I love the art here. Like, we get this sort of like negative space of these last few panels as he's getting into the cell, and the last panel is him just standing next to the bars saying "goddamn wonderful," but the walls of the cell are all scratchy black, and that's like the negative space and the gutters around the entire page. It's really, again, really, really pretty. Anyway, back to the city, and the character storms into the therapist's office demanding to see her. His name is Mr. Sinclair. I'm sure we had like a first name at some point. Norton, that was it. Yeah, the therapist calls him that. Norton comes in, and she basically has to throw out her other patient and apologize. Like, I'm sorry, we'll reschedule. I'm so sorry for this. And she's like, I've got other patients. Like, you can't just show up like this and do this. And he's like, someone broke into my apartment. They took all my stuff. Something's going on. This stuff's important. I know more than ever this is a thing. And it's also worth mentioning that earlier on, when he didn't want to tell her what he was finding, he specifically said, I'm worried that you would be in danger if you knew. He said that, right? And she's like, hey, I think you have to stay at the hospital. Clearly you're getting worse. You can't be out on your own. And he gets mad and says, oh, I came to you for help, and now you're trying to like imprison me. To hell with this. And he goes to storm out. Back in Gideon Falls, the big reveal here is that they found the body of Father Tom, the previous priest, right? And he's holding a nail in his hand, right? Presumably part of the Black Barn. And they're like, there's something weird about this though, and the sheriff's like, what's weird about it? This body, like, he's been gone for 2 weeks, drowned, but this body's not been dead for longer than an hour. So they're like, maybe the other priest was telling the truth. Like, maybe he did see him. I mean, I thought he was just a ghost in the last issue, to be fair. But like, something's not adding up here. Like this, and he's not got the the physical signs of drowning, right? It doesn't seem like he's died that way. So the next part of the issue, probably the most exciting scene of the issue, because it's such a mystery book. Obviously, it always seems to build up to a big moment where it feels like it's giving you another big part of the puzzle. Is the therapist in the city is going to her car, and she's talking about Norton and about the fact that he should probably be, incarcerated or checked into the hospital or whatever. And she's talking. I think she's talking to her significant other or whatever. And they're saying, "Oh, you can't coddle your patients." Or maybe it's her boss actually. Maybe not her. Maybe it's like a a colleague, someone for advice. But anyway, basically, as she's going to her car, we get like the hint of red coming in the sky behind her, and then we just see the phone drop to the ground, and the background's completely red at this point. And she looks up down the street, and everything's changed. Now everything's red and black, and she sees the black barn just there in the street. It's like being told about it has made her aware of it. It's almost like a Freddy Krueger thing. Like if you're scared of him, you'll start to see him. That's the vibe I'm getting from this, based on the way this is presented. But we get some close-ups of the door, and there's some kind of black and red demonic entity smiling at her as the door closes. It's super creepy. It's proper horror movie stuff. And then the next page is her just on her, like she's like fallen to the ground, and she's saying, "Oh God," as she clutches her chest. And that's the cliffhanger. That's the end of the issue. I love the ending. I think the idea of her becoming like aware of this barn stuff is super intriguing because she was the skeptical one. She's the one who obviously wouldn't believe any of this. And it makes me wonder what is her reaction next time. It feels like the therapist is becoming the third main character, which is, it's not that we've been going there a long time. It's only issue 2. Right. But I wasn't necessarily thinking she was one of the main characters yet. But this feels like, oh no, she's probably going to get more involved now. Although part of me thought she might die. Like I thought when she was seeing this creepy smile, I thought the final page was going to be her dead body lying on the street. It's not though. She's just seeing it like the other characters are seeing it. And I'm curious to see where we go with this. In fact, her face is the cover of the next issue, but in the same style as the previous ones where it's the city making up her face. So I actually think her getting involved, and then in the sense that she's now like aware of this danger and she's starting to experience it, is super exciting. Because now we have someone else involved. And now we have like someone who everyone thinks is crazy. We have a religious man and we have a psychiatrist. And it makes me wonder if we're going to get more people involved who have very different worldviews and skill sets, who all get involved, but I'm curious. I'm fascinated by where this is going. But again, the mystery is really solid. The art is gorgeous throughout. Those hints of red, some of the layouts are very creative and like build to the atmosphere. And I think the characters are really well defined and developed. I think all 3 main characters now feel pretty developed because we get a lot more of the therapist in this issue, and that's because they were building her up for this moment. So, yeah, no, easy 9 out of 10, honestly. It was a phenomenal read. I'm really excited. And I think I'm getting to read 2 issues a month starting next month, at least for a while. So, excited to keep going with Gideon Falls. The other Patreon book I looked at today was Batman and the Outsiders Annual Issue 2. So there was a bit of a cliffhanger at the last issue, but we're putting that on ice for the annual here, because that's what was next in the collection. So I assume it's the right place to put it. But this is the wedding of Metamorpho and Sapphire. And there's a very ominous start to this where we see a hand clutch the newspaper announcement of their wedding, and being like, "Oh, I'm not invited, am I? Well, I'll send a present." So someone's going to try and ruin it, of course, because of course they are.
Yes.
So as an annual, it is 40 pages, which I will admit, like sometimes with a modern comic, I'm like, oh, 40 pages sounds like it's going to be a bit of a chore if it's not like well paced. This obviously is an older school comic with a different pace of writing, so 40 pages did feel like a lot here. Especially since they basically just use it to split them into teams at a certain point and all have their own fights. Which, to be fair, the fights are actually pretty good. So it wasn't that like much of a chore. But I did feel the 40 pages is what I'm getting at, though. It was a bit of a longer read. So, yeah, we see Halo getting ready with Katana. They're in their bridesmaids' dresses. Rex is all nervous. He's making sure Geoforce has got the rings. Stag is being nice to his daughters. Java is upset that she's marrying Metamorpho, of course. Still hoping. There's actually a great funny line later on where like they're going into where everyone is, and Java's like, "Oh, I hope everyone's unharmed." Although I wouldn't mind if Metamorpho's not unharmed. Like he basically has a line like that, which cracked me up. So yeah, the wedding takes place, and of course it's when the priest says, you know, is there anyone who has any reason why these two shouldn't be wed? Forever hold your peace. And in comes running on the title page a doppelganger of Metamorpho, of Rex, in his human form, because he's in human form for the wedding. So it's like, wait, there's two Rexes, what's going on? And he's like, get back away from her, you imposter. He's like, no, you're the imposter. That doesn't last too long though, because when Sapphire like touches the hand of the second Rex, she's like, wait, you have warmth and like blood, like you don't feel like Metamorpho does. So it's like, okay, that's instantly solved that. However, this person, whoever it is, the shapeshifter, presumably, like basically he's able to defeat who's there, like sort of like turns Black Lightning's powers back on himself by making him zap himself, and grabs Sapphire so the others can't just immediately like get involved, drops like basically a poison smoke pellet to like put them all out. And it's actually just lucky that Batman was late for the wedding. Bruce Wayne shows up and he's all in shadows. He's like, oh, hopefully the ceremony's not started yet. Oh no, everyone's passed out. Oh, luckily he's got antitoxins to give them all so that so they're all not dead, because this was not a non-lethal gas he put down. He was trying to kill them. So he's freaking out. I mean, Rex assumes Stag's somehow behind this, because Stag's always trying to get in the way of their relationship, and he grabs him and he's like, you did this, you son of a bitch. And Batman's like, no, he was passed out, left for dead like everyone else. It couldn't have been him. And if it was him, then he'd made a really sloppy job of it. So it's like, okay, fair enough. Like, what are we doing here? And it's actually, Batman's analyzed the gas and says, oh, it comes from someone. It was used during World War II, invented by a scientist turned traitor named Maxwell Tremaine. And both Stag and Rex are like, Tremaine? Like, they know that name. And apparently it ties into like an old like issue. It's like an issue of Brave and the Bold. It was like Rex's second ever story where this was the villain, was Tremaine. And this was someone who was fighting for with Stag over Stag's wife, right? So Sapphire's mother. So basically the story here is that because Sapphire looks like her mother, this old scientist from World War II has decided that he wants her for himself, because it looks like Mira, I think her name was, her mother. So that's the plot here. So he wasn't the shapeshifter. The shapeshifter was like his like bio henchman that he's made.
Is he the guy that said I'm sending a gift?
Yes, that was him.
Okay, gotcha. So I just looked up Max Tremaine.
Yes.
He was a Nazi. He was on the wrong side of World War II.
Well, he said scientist turned traitor, so I assume he started off on the Allied side and switched to the Nazis.
Yeah. So this says in the DC fandom wiki, Maxwell Tremaine was a criminal scientist and a former Nazi. So it was like, oh, he's a bad dude.
He's a very bad dude. He's also got like a robot that looks like a mantis that's called Mantis.
Okay.
So that's a thing.
Fair.
Right? And then he comes out, he's in a wheelchair, right? This design of a wheelchair is absolutely absurd. It's kind of like, it's almost like, you know how in Silver Bullet, Gary Busey builds like a super-powered rocket wheelchair for his nephew?
The super chair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like if that crossed over with like a science fiction movie, and it's got like a headpiece where it comes up, like a salon headpiece that goes over the guy's head. It's this monstrosity looking overly designed thing, but it made me laugh because it's, you know, comic book nonsense, so I was into it.
Of course. I mean, man has a robot called Mantis that looks like a mantis. What else do we expect?
He also has a big white handlebar mustache, so take that for what you will.
Yes. And an eye patch from the picture that I'm looking at.
Yeah, he's got an eye patch too. Yep, he's got an eye patch. So he's got a whole look going on. Basically, he's like, hey, shapeshifter, dude, you're probably disturbing Sapphire by still looking like her almost husband, so go back to your normal form. And he just goes back to like a plain white, like putty looking face. Basically, he's like, he doesn't have like a base form, like a regular human form. He just goes back to like, you know, kind of like when the T-1000 is like not in human form. He's just like a silver. Yeah, it's that but white. So it's like, okay. And she's like, oh, does this make you feel better, Sapphire? No, you look like a creepy mother effer, actually, dude. Like, there's nothing. It's like in Community when they try to make a mascot that doesn't offend anyone, so they come up with the human being, and it's just this grey, like, spandex, like, face. Yeah. Anyway, he's like, oh, there's a jet just breached my airspace. Obviously, that's the outsiders coming to rescue her, right? He's like, get my underlings. And then, turns out, he's hired the Masters of Disaster. And they're like, we're not your underlings. So what does that mean, ladies and gentlemen? Do you know what that means? It means I get to talk about Cold Snap. That's what that means. Cold Snap's on this team. So, obviously they appeared earlier in the run. They were back in like the early issues. Don't remember which issue it was, but I'm sure there's an editor's note at some point saying they were in issue 10 or something like that. But yeah, so these are going to be the people who are fighting the team once they get in. Windfall is the one that can control the wind. She makes the jet go spinning out of control. And Halo's like, hey, she didn't hurt me last time. She chose not to kill me. I don't think she'll hurt me. I'll go try and take care of Windfall. And Windfall's actually told by the others, the villains, like, hey, you better kill her. Like, I'm telling you, little sister, you better go kill her. That's New Wave, I think her name is, the one that controls water. She's like, you better go kill that that Halo character. And she's like, fine, I'll kill her. But we actually see that when she's using her powers on Halo, even though it looks like she's trying to kill her, she's basically hoping in her thought bubbles, oh no, please, Halo, get out of this, like, find a way out of this, which is really interesting. So she's not pulling her punches necessarily, but she's hoping that Halo will still somehow survive and win. So, interesting enough dynamic there. It's kind of split into chapters, actually. When they arrive at the island, that's chapter 3. I've not really been mentioning that, but it's kind of in like 5 chapters or whatever. Once they get to the island, though, it's basically just a case of they break up into different teams, and Halo, Geoforce, and Black Lightning end up taking on Windfall, and New Wave, and what's the one that can shake them? It's not Shockwave, but it's something like that. Doesn't matter.
I have to pull. Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's not a big deal.
Shakedown.
Shakedown. There you go. That's the one.
Yep.
So, he's like shaking Geoforce. Windfall's taking on Halo, and New Wave's rushing Black Lightning with water. Although he ends up zapping her to turn her into like just to separate the hydrogen and the oxygen in the water, so she has to go back into human form, which is a fun enough little bit. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, the fighting's fine. It's fun enough. The art's well drawn. They have some one-liners here or there that are amusing. But it's not like, it does kind of feel like this is an oversized book. It's a 40-page annual instead of a 22-page book. And it feels like almost all of those extra pages are just like more fighting, which, depending on how much you like fighting in this era of comics is maybe hit or miss. I don't mind it. Like, I actually had a decent enough time reading it. It's just, like, compared to other issues where the story's maybe better paced, is maybe just the only thing I'd point out. But Batman and Katana are trying to sneak in the back. That's chapter 4, but they're encountered with Cold Snap and Heatstroke, who they really emphasize here that they're a couple, and that they're hoping that if they get the technology of this, Tremaine, that they can finally like fix themselves so they can touch each other again, because when they try to touch, their powers just kind of react to each other. So they're like, we keep calling each other a lover, but we can be proper lovers again if we fix this. So they're doing a whole thing with that. So they fight Batman and Katana, and there's like daggers being frozen and things like that. The Katana gets frozen in like a tree, but then Batman hits Heatstroke, so her blast hits it, so Katana can get her weapon out. And that's basically the whole thing. They end up going on the run though, like Cold Snap makes an ice wall and they run for it, and they end up finding like an old ship, because they basically say that this island they've went to is like a dumping ground for like countries to like hide all their failed experiments and like technology. So they find this tank-like thing they go into. That's almost felt like it was going on a bit of a tangent, but basically they're like, hey, this technology might help us like deal with our powers, and then Batman like knocks them out with some like pellets or whatever. And Katana's like, oh, I wonder what they were talking about, because they were trying to steal that technology. And Batman's like, oh, hard to say, but it couldn't have been anything good. And I almost kind of felt bad for them, because like, well, they just kind of wanted to use it to, like, if not take away their powers, like harmonize them so that they can, intermingle again. I don't know. It felt almost like they weren't actually doing anything that nefarious. Like, all they were doing was trying to affect themselves. But hey, whatever. So they carry their unconscious bodies away, and then they get to the final part, which is when the final team, which is Metamorpho, Stag, and Java, who are working together. You know, they've agreed to work together because they want to save Sapphire, and they get into the main building, and immediately, you know, it's not looking great. Stag gets knocked down by the shapeshifter. You know, the villain monologues a little bit. The whole thing. I will say it does take a very quick turn. There's a bit of a fight with the Mantis robot first, where that gets destroyed. Basically, Metamorpho turns himself into a string of gold to sneak inside it, and then he kind of expands to make it just explode, basically. And then the team all gets together. Metamorpho and the Shapeshifter are both turned into Diamond, and basically the villain Tremaine has got Sapphire at gunpoint and says, "I'm going to kill her if you don't let us go." And this kind of came out of nowhere, so I guess if I'm going to critique the issue, it's the fact that the Shapeshifter turns around and says, "You know what? If you're threatening her, you don't really love her. Not like Rex and I do." And I'm like, wait, why do you love her? Like, why have you fallen in love with her so quickly all of a sudden?
Because he was told he does as part of the mission.
Yeah, I guess.
To ruin her wedding.
Yeah, like he's really... He get into his character a bit too much, I guess. So he charges at Tremaine, who fires at him, and basically this disintegrates both of them because he's got like a laser gun or whatever. So it looks like they've both melted in his wheelchair, is basically what's happened at the end. So it's like, okay, that turn from the Shapeshifter henchman kind of just was like a wild out of nowhere thing to me. I don't know. It felt a little bit just like a quick resolution. The epilogue, though, is that on the plane back, Rex is like, maybe we shouldn't get married because you're going to be in danger. And I guess the kind of sweet part here, which I do kind of like, is that Stag's the one who comes over and says, "Listen, you idiot. Don't you break my daughter's heart." So there's kind of a nice turnaround at Stag, who's always been trying to stop them from getting married. That's been a running plot point with him. He's the one that talks Rex into still marrying her. So that's meant to be kind of your sweet ending to like the potential whole thing. And the final couple of pages is them getting married, and they're kissing. And I love that Batman shadows on the aisle as they're kissing, just to give it a little bit of a comic book oomph. And Halo's crying, and Katana even looks like she's vaguely emotionally moved. So, yeah, I mean, it's a wedding issue, and, you know, a wedding issue of a comic book, like a wedding episode of a wrestling TV show. It has to get interrupted, things have to go down, and there's some fun art, there's some fun fighting. I think the highlight for me is Stag and Metamorphos kind of like making amends at various points, both when they first agree to work together, and then Stag being the one, because this could be his get out. Like, Rex is saying, no, we shouldn't marry. This could be Stag's way of getting what he wants, and he decides to talk him into it instead. So that's kind of nice. The actual villain's kind of fun in a goofy comic book way, ridiculous over-the-top wheelchair. But the henchman's like turn at the end just kind of felt like this will quickly resolve this. So I think if I'm going to rate this, I'll probably go with like a 7, because there's things in it I like, but, you know, it's a bit long for what it is, and it does feel like there's a couple of weird turns. So I won't go super high with the rating either, but not a bad read, and certainly it was nice to pay off the Metamorpho and Sapphire stuff. But I'm excited to get to the back to the main issues, because the cover of the next one's The Truth About the Looker Part 1 is quite exciting sounding. So issue 28 coming next time when I get back to Batman the Outsiders. But that is that. So that'll take us finally on to the part of the show where we pick our favourite stuff of the week, favorite panel/moment, favourite cover, favourite art, top 5 books. So Matt, what is your panel/moment of the week?
Okay, so Absolute Wonder Woman having the reveal of the Amazons. That was a lot of fun. So that's up there. Let's see what else we got. The Green Lantern moment of them doing all the oaths. That was pretty cool too. But I'm nothing if not a parody at times. And Superboy Prime yelling "Long live the Legion." I have to. Like, I can't. It's on a T. So that's gonna be mine.
That's fair. I think for me, Detective has like a lot of great pages in art, and I love the story. I don't know if there's a specific moment though that makes me go, "Oh, that's the banger moment," necessarily. I think Wonder Woman has that great moment with the dove, where the others are all shocked that she actually got a sign. The ending's also pretty epic. But I mean, and by that I mean the Themyscira part, but even the ending at the very end is also quite a good reveal. So I think I'm going to go with the Themyscira part of Wonder Woman, but it's close, or Absolute Wonder Woman, that is. But it's definitely close between a few things there. So that is cool. For best cover of the week, there's a fun one with Superman helping a cat up a tree, or off a tree maybe, on Superman Unlimited.
That's from us. Yeah, Unlimited.
Yeah, Matteo Lolly variant for that one. There's some fun. Let me look at this Aaron Barton cover. It's okay. I mean, the face is a little bit smooth looking, so maybe I don't love that Green Lantern cover that much.
Yeah.
I was just looking at it when it was small. Obviously, the regular cover for Wonder Woman's great. It always is. There's actually a variant of the new villain of Lissa by Sampere, which does look very good. And I think I saw that cover before I read the book, so when I got to that page where she's basically got that pose, I went, oh, that's what that is, because I didn't really know who it was when I saw the cover. So that's pretty badass. So that's cool. There's a nice David Aja cover for Superman, which is basically mostly in silhouette aside from the red cape. That's actually a contender, actually. I might pick that. Just to mention a couple others, Frank Cho variant for Detectives, really nice, with Batman kind of with the signal behind him and lots of bats, really nice and simple. And there's also a cool Yasmin Putri variant for Absolute Wonder Woman that looks quite cool. But I think I am going to go, even though it's probably one of my least favorite books of the week, Superman's variant from David Aja as my pick. What's yours?
So the only other one that I wanted to point out was a Detective Comics variant by Gabriel Delato. That's got a lot of the Bat Rogues on it. And it's got like my favorites and then Joker. Right? You got Man-Bat, Waid, Ivy, and then Joker. I thought it was worthy to bring up. But you mentioned all the other ones that I was going to mention. And the only other one, there's a Declan Shelby Superman Unlimited. It's a 1 in 25 variant. It's got Superman. Well, it looks like going towards the sun. And it's just, it's a really cool image. But yeah, mine's also that Superman Aha variant of him helping the rubble, in silhouette off of the girl. So
it's just one of those classic Superman moments captured in a really cool way. Also, I'm realizing that you're kind of like letting your Batman, or my edgy, I don't like Batman attitude slide. You've basically just transitioned that to Joker, so you're getting all your little snarky comments about Joker instead.
Look, if that was Clayface instead of Joker, it would have won. I'm just saying.
Look, Joker, I get that he's overused, but when he's done well, he is the best Batman villain, and I will absolutely. There's a reason why
he's not in my top 5. He's not in my top 5 though, Pete. It's my personal.
Yeah, but your top 5 stupid, so it's fine.
No.
Your top 5's fine.
If it was Two-Face, then I would talk.
Two-Face. I'm not saying he has to be your favorite. Like if you've got another favorite that tickles your funny bone, just that way, that's completely valid. But to throw this shade,
to be fair,
Joker's there. He's a detriment to this cover.
I mean, he was, but
edgy
to be fair, I've been on the anti-Joker train longer than I was on the anti-Batman train. To be fair, so yeah, let me have my anti stuff, all right?
You're such a...
You don't like the Legion, I don't like Joker. That's how we go.
Oh, I wonder who agrees with more the other.
Pete never appealed to popularity with me. I've been straight edge my whole life, all right?
Yeah, hipster.
I do things out of spite.
Just being a hipster. Being a little hipster, little Joker hater, hipster boy. Anyway, I know I'm not right. I say truth. I say the absolute facts. I say absolute facts. Batman's not been turned into a giant venom monster, and you dispute it, and then the proof was in the pudding.
Yes, you're correct. I'm not going to argue. I've been proven wrong.
Just trust Peter. That's all. That's what we're learning here, right? Just trust Peter.
He's like the Legion. I can't trust you that much. I mean, I trust you more than Connor, but that doesn't say much.
Sensible people don't like the Legion, okay? Right? Like, do you know what's so funny? Is if you look at my League of Comics profile and I go to my reading like stats, and it sort of says how many books you've read with this character in it, and it's a really interesting list. And my entire top 20 are all DC characters. In fact, I don't get to a Marvel character until like number 45, which it fills me with joy because I like DC more. But the reason why I bring this up is because I feel like I would rather read so many Marvel books than actually try and suffer through a Legion book. Despite my love for DC being far more prominent.
Patrons, hear me out.
Don't. No.
Mark Waid, let me find out if the Mark Waid 3-boot is easily accessible. I say we give it to Pete. I'm just saying.
What's this we?
I'm just saying.
What's we? If you want to sign up to Patreon and pay for it yourself, Matt, you can do that. But there's no we in this, okay?
Just know if there's a Patreon that gets marked as Mr. X, it's not me.
Mr. X.
I'm just saying things.
Who's this mysterious? In fact, do you know what? I'll tell you what that top 20 is actually when we're done with the thing, just as a fun little.
Okay, let's talk about art real quick.
Oh yeah, art. What's your favorite art of the week?
Yeah, so here's the thing. We all know I love Hayden Sherman on Absolute Wonder Woman, right?
Uh-huh.
It's one of my favorite books, month in, month out. All right,
but
it's hard to beat the 1-2 punch this week of Sampere and Fornes on Wonder Woman 25.
Oh yes, I think that's what I'm picking. Yeah. But I want to be clear though. I think Janin on Detectives was fantastic this week.
Yes.
I think Sherman obviously was great. I think Xermánico was good in Green Lantern. I think Landro was phenomenal in Mr. Terrific. Like we spoiled for choice, one might say, but I think Sampere and Fornes on Wonder Woman is just such a juggernaut of a pair of artists. I don't think anything's beaten that for me this week.
No.
So, all right, cool.
Yeah.
All right, top 5 books, go.
All right, so number 1's going to be Absolute Wonder Woman. Number 2 is going to be regular Wonder Woman. Number 3 is going to be Superman. Number 4 is Mr. Terrific. And number 5 is Detective Comics.
I rated a lot of things around a similar score, so this is actually tougher than it sometimes is.
Yeah.
I will say... I will say number 1 is Detective. Number 2 is Wonder Woman. 3 is Absolute Wonder Woman. 4, Mr. Terrific Year 1. 5, Superman Unlimited? Yeah.
Seems about right.
Detective, Wonder Woman, Absolute Wonder Woman, Mr. Terrific, Superman Unlimited. Yeah, I feel good about that. I feel good about that. All right, there you go. That's my top 5. Yeah, and I'll tell you what's coming next week from DC Comics, everyone, which you're bound to want to know. Next week we have Absolute Superman 12. We have Batman issue 2. We have Absolute Green Lantern issue 7. We have Absolute Evil issue 1. So that's obviously a biggie. We have Batgirl 12, Poison Ivy 37, Birds of Prey 26, Justice League the Omega Axe Special issue 1, also obviously a big deal, that one, tying into all the big stuff going on. GSA issue 12, DC's Satanic Panic issue 1, that's your October 100-page anthology Halloween sort of special. You've got Adventures of Superman, the Book of El issue 2, you've got Cheetah in Cheshire, Rob the Justice League issue 3, and we have Gotham Academy first year issue 1, and then some facsimiles and whatnot. So pretty packed week next week, and a lot of exciting books as well, I would say, next week. I don't
think I'm catching up with JSA. I gotta be seeing how loaded this is. I'm still too behind.
I kind of get it. I think I still want to give it a try. But admittedly, we have 2 one-shots or new books, plus Cheetah in Cheshire, that Book of El book's there now. There's definitely a lot going on next week. And just as a little bonus little thing, I just mentioned I've got reading stats on League of Comic Geeks. I think it's just funny to see what these are, right? So this basically counts all the appearances of each of these characters and how many issues I've read with any of these characters in them. There is a couple of weird things though, like it splits Barbara Gordon into like Oracle and Batgirl, depending on which persona she had.
Era.
Does the same for Dick Grayson, although his is a lot more one-sided because it's mostly Nightwing. But technically I have looked and seen that there's a Dick Grayson Batman listing and a Dick Grayson Robin listing, and maybe even a Dick Grayson listing for when he was just a secret agent. But anyway, here's the top 10 just quickly. Number 1's Batman. Unsurprising. Number 2 is Superman, right? And I'll point out, those are the only two that have got over 1,000 each. Batman's at 1,900, okay. Superman's at 1,300 plus. 3 is Wonder Woman with 860 plus. 4 is Alfred with 690 something. 5 is Barry Allen with 680. 6 is Nightwing, Dick Grayson, with 584. 7 is James Gordon with 577. 8 is Aquaman with 516. I'm actually a little surprised he's as high as that, to be honest, compared to some others. 9 is Lois Lane with 514. 10 is Hal Jordan with 481. 11 is Damian Wayne with 426. 12 is Cyborg with 419. All those Justice League appearances is added up there for Cyborg, because it's not like I'm reading a lot of solo Cyborg books. Right. 13 is Joker with 415. 14 is Black Canary with 407. 15 is Wally West with 379. 16 is Oliver Queen, Green Arrow, with 373. 17 is Barbara Gordon as Oracle with 370. 18 is Supergirl with 365. 19 is Barbara Gordon as Batgirl at 341. So she would be like over 700 if you combine those two, which I think it should be, right. But whatever. And then number 20 is Martian Manhunter with 327. So yeah, not a single non-DC character in sight in my top 20 of reading. So isn't that fun? I just think that's interesting to know. I'm just for curiosity's sake, my first non-DC character from scrolling down the total list is at number 34, and that's Wolverine with 220.
Oh, wow.
But Wolverine...
I would have guessed Daredevil.
No, I mean, Daredevil's probably not too much further down, but characters beating Wolverine for me, in terms of how many issues I've read, include Zatanna, that includes Hawkgirl, Jimmy Olsen, Penguin, like bunch of Green Lantern characters, tons of them.
Jimmy Olsen over Wolverine is hilarious.
I have read more Penguin than I have Wolverine.
Yeah.
That's a fact. For now, at least, anyway.
That's hilarious.
I just thought that was interesting. I like checking stats. It's a fun thing to do. Anyway, there you go. That's the show, everyone. That's Comics from the Multiverse. We will see you next week for all those books that we mentioned coming out. And, of course, we will... I don't know if there'll be news next. Probably not. Probably not until next solicits. But hey, you know what it's like. Lots of books next week, though. But a book heavy week. So thank you for joining us. We do appreciate it. Keep reading DC Comics. Oh, and I didn't plug Patreon or YouTube membership. Go support us. Do the supporting things.
Yeah.
Get access to Batgirl Year 1 reviews, which are now 1 issue a month, and the vote for the Patron's choice. Every month. So thank you very much. Thanks to everyone who already supports us. Keep reading DC Comics, and remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.